inside the Skyline Ballroom at McCormick Place. Things are heating up as the National Women's Soccer League's 7th annual college draft kicks off straight ahead. We are live from the Skyline Ballroom in Chicago, Illinois, just a few minutes away from the 2019 NWSL College Draft. 9 teams will be adding some remarkable talent to their rosters today, and over 200 athletes have declared for this year's draft in hopes of becoming just one of 36 players who get to join a team heading into this season. Welcome into our 2019 NWSL College Draft show. I'm Marisa Pilla, joined by women's soccer encyclopedia Jen Cooper, as well as former U.S. Women's National Team member and NWSL alum Lori Lindsey. So happy to be here, ahead of which will be probably a very exciting NWSL draft, as it always is. Lori, what makes this draft so unique to you this year?
Yeah, well, one, it's a World Cup year. And then two, as the league has matured, historically we found that it's difficult for some of these players, these college players, to come in and really make an impact. But with a number of players being gone on international duty for the World Cup, I think there's going to be a ton of space for some of these players, hidden gems, to come in and make a difference.
And with the announcement that the league just made about increased roster size, that presents an opportunity that, we've never seen in the league, that there's going to be 4 supplemental spots. The max roster is now up to 22. That's, 6 spots per team, 9 teams, 54 new spots that didn't exist just a few months ago. That's huge for this league.
And with those supplemental players, they will be getting the league minimum salary, and also their salary doesn't count towards team salary caps. How important is it for these draftees in this room to know about those opportunities heading into today?
That is so crucial, because unlike previous years where you knew maybe there's an opportunity for a spot, here okay, I can be paid, I can train with this team, and when the opportunity comes up, when those World Cup players are gone, I can make an impact, I can earn a senior contract, I can make a difference.
And something that many of the coaches talked about throughout our time getting a hold of them prior to the draft was they want to see fortitude from these players, the maturity and dedication to stick around to a team, and no doubt these extra spots will make it a little more inviting to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the more that you have available to teams, especially as we mentioned with the World Cup year, the better it will for these players to come in and really set the tone.
Well, we know there will be 4 rounds to today's draft as we take a look at the draft rules heading into today. During the first round, each team will be 5 minutes on the clock, but heading in to the second and fourth rounds, they then have 3 minutes on the clock. There are some breaks in between each round, and also there's an opportunity for timeouts. Jen, what can you explain about if these timeouts do occur?
That's really the kicker to all these drafts, and that decides whether we're here 3 hours, 4 hours, or longer, is those timeouts. And since it's been such a quiet offseason, I'm expecting a lot of timeouts, because I'm expecting some more trades. We've already had a couple, but I'm expecting more. And the small text up there on the graphic is important to note. Players must be registered for the draft to be selected. So unless they're on the list, they can't be selected. And unless they're on the list, they cannot play in 2019 for the league.
Let's take a look at the first round draft order. We can see Chicago has the first overall draft pick. Rory Dane said this was the most easy feeling he felt heading into any draft with that number 1 overall pick. But also what's important to note is only 4 of the league's 9 teams have a first round pick. What does that mean in terms of the talent pool later on in the draft and those teams who only have a pick in 3rd or 4th round?
Right, so that means those 4 teams having those 9 picks to themselves. They're taking care of all of their needs. They're grabbing the best of the talent, and I think it's interesting to look at Chicago having number 1 pick, because you're like, they didn't finish last. Well, that number 1 pick was given to Utah last year when they joined the league. Utah Royals traded that pick to Chicago to get the rights to Kristen Press. I think the Chicago, like Rory said, is sitting pretty no pressure, because they have everyone coming to them saying, I want that pick, I want that pick.
There's always so much action happening during an NWSL draft, and because of that, we have a fourth member of our team down on the draft floor, another NWSL alum, Jordan Angeli. She is down there right now. She's going to be taking in all the sights and sounds. Jordan, what do you have for us?
Thanks, Marissa. I love hearing what you guys are talking about so far, and really welcome to the main event. What an atmosphere we have in here. There's a DJ, the tables are buzzing, the coaches are sitting right behind me, and like you guys said, there's a lot of changes, right? Some coaches have been here since the very beginning. Some coaches have never been a part of a draft before, so I'm going to be bugging them a little bit and seeing what information I can get out of them about the people just beyond. So right just beyond them is the draftees, and they're there with their families, with their friends, sitting there. I went over to them before the draft started and I said, take a deep breath, enjoy this moment, because not a lot of people get to experience being on the draft floor and hearing their name called. It's a cool moment. This is going to be fun, you guys, and I'm going to try to get as much information out of them as I can, your eyes and your ears, but also all you guys at home, we want you to join, so make sure you join the conversation on Twitter. Use the hashtag NWSL Draft. Let us know who you want to talk to, if you have questions for anybody, and we'll try to incorporate those. So it should be fun, you guys.
We're really much looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Jordan. What a great asset to have her down on the draft floor. But before we get too ahead of ourselves talking about 2019, let's take a look back at the highlights from the 2018 season. What a great footage to look at of North Carolina celebrating the 2018 NWSL Championship. There's sure to be a lot of great moments ahead of us in this next season. And with the addition of new players adding to the league this year, there's also several new coaches to NWSL in the 2019 season. Jen, who are you most excited to see take shape under a new head coach?
Well, it sounds like they're all coming from the UK one way or another. We've got James Clarkson for the Houston Dash, though he's been in Texas a long time. We've got Richie Burke, longtime guy in the DC soccer community, taking on for the Spirit. And we're hearing Mark Skinner from Birmingham City. Equalizer Soccer has reported for Orlando.
The draft is about to get started. Let's head over to the podium.
Please welcome to the stage the president of U.S. United Soccer Coaches, Leslie Gallimore.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Chicago. Boy, has this changed since 7 years ago. In that little room in the hotel where no one was allowed in, and we kept all with our ears to the door to see who the first pick would be, and once in a while someone would pop out and give us a nugget. It is so great to see the growth of the NWSL going into its 7th year. A big thank you to the NWSL on behalf of United Soccer Coaches for their partnership with us. Thank you to the owners, the coaches of all the clubs in the NWSL for investing in the women's game in this country. Thank you. Big round of applause for the owners. Special congratulations to the North Carolina Courage on their championship this last season. What a great year it was for the league, and what a great year it was for soccer. The level of play has risen to the point where we now have the 3rd-ranked team, professional team in FIFA behind PSG and Lyon, both teams that Paul assured me that they beat, so I don't know how we came in 3rd there, but that's saying something. I want to say thank you to the staff and everyone that has put on this event here. It's tremendous to see. First and foremost, the draftees, the potential draftees. What an exciting time. You have earned this opportunity. I know you're sitting over there with your families and friends, anxiously awaiting your name to be called. If it happens today for you, congratulations. If it doesn't happen today, don't stop dreaming, don't stop chasing your dream, because there's so much more opportunity in this day and age for women's soccer that you owe it to yourself to keep after it. So without further ado, let's get the party started, yeah? Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Managing Director of the National Women's Soccer League, Amanda Duffy.
Welcome. On behalf of all of our owners, our partners, our players, and our great fans, welcome to the 2019 NWSL College Draft. Thank you, Leslie Gallimore, Lynn Burling-Manuel, and the wonderful team at United Soccer Coaches for your support and for once again hosting the NWSL College Draft at this year's United Soccer Coaches Convention. Today marks the start of the league's historic 7th season, a season that will be extraordinary and will continue to raise the global standard for women's football. Looking back, 2018 was pretty special. The league grew stronger when we welcomed Deloy Hansen and the Utah Royals. During the club's inaugural season, in addition to building a foundation that positions it to be among the leaders in accelerating the growth of NWSL, Deloy and his team invested significantly in facilities and resources and saw the 2nd largest inaugural home game crowd in league history, when more than 19,000 fans attended the Royals' first game at Rio Tinto Stadium. Congratulations, Deloy, Stephanie Lee, Laura Harvey, and the entire Royals organization for your achievements. We strengthen our relationship with the NWSL Players Association as the league formally recognized the Players Association as the exclusive bargaining representative of the NWSL players. We look forward to that continued collaboration. More fans came to see NWSL games this year, with over 600,000 fans supporting the players and clubs, pushing their league's regular season average attendance to over 6,000 fans per game, making it the highest average attendance in league history and marking a more than 40% average attendance increase since the league's inception. The 2018 NWSL Championship showcased the excitement of the fans, the Portland fans, and the growing support of the league. To cap another season of record-setting attendance for the Thorns, the club hosted the largest ever crowd for a women's professional soccer championship, breaking a 17-year-old record when more than 21,000 fans came to witness North Carolina Courage and the Portland Thorns competing for the league's title. We again thank Merritt Paulson, Mike Golub, and the entire Thorns organization for their work leading up to and during a memorable week in Portland. 2018, though, in many ways belonged to the North Carolina Courage. The club, in its 2nd season in NWSL, brought a resolve into the 2018 season that guided it to setting single-season records for goals, wins, points, and goals against. The club captured the first women's ICC championship and became the first team to win the NWSL Shield and the NWSL Championship, in the same season. Congratulations, Steve Malik, Kurt Johnson, Paul Riley, and the entire Courage organization. You're setting a new standard for our competition in NWSL, and you continue to drive the culture of our sport through your consistency and results. There were high water marks set along the way, all contributing to new achievements that made 2018 special for NWSL. Congratulations to all of the teams for a remarkable season. But we're not at the finish line. Today, we embark on a season that will undoubtedly further elevate the women's game, a year that will have women's soccer stand at the forefront of global sports as the world's best athletes compete at the 2019 FIFA Women's World Cup. As the women's game grows, so will the visibility, expectations, and opportunities. Today, we announced that the NWSL senior rosters will expand to a minimum of 20 and a maximum of 22 players. We created 4 new supplemental roster spots, creating additional opportunities for these and other players to bring their talents to NWSL. The league has increased its base salary cap as well as the minimum and maximum salary figures. The 6th consecutive season in which an increase has been implemented. The league's permitted team assistance cap has nearly doubled from the 2018 season, allowing teams to spend additional amounts through providing players assistance outside of base compensation. Through all of these expansions and increases we were able to implement, we have the owners operating each of the teams and their talented staffs to thank for providing a home for the world's best soccer players and a showcase through which fans can admire these athletes and see the fulfillment of young girls' dreams. In addition to thanking the owners, we must thank our fans. The significance of your unwavering and enthusiastic support goes beyond numbers and metrics. It is a driving force to the success of each of our clubs and the league. It's an inspiration to the players who work tirelessly, who dedicate themselves, and who sacrifice so much to be a part of the foundation of this league, lighting the path for future professionals and illuminating future opportunities for girls and women in sports and providing inspiration along the way. Thank you to our federation partners, U.S. Soccer and Canada Soccer. Dan Flynn, Jay Berhalter, Lydia Walkie, and many others at U.S. Soccer, your support and guidance is instrumental to the success and growth of this league. Thank you to our partners, Nike, who has believed in this league since its inception and continues to be an important part of NWSL and its teams. A&E, who deliver exceptional broadcasts on Lifetime, promotional sport, visibility, and exposure, among many other things. And thank you to the team that brings the broadcast to life and to our living rooms each week, Michael Cohen, Dana Rubin, Jen Hildreth, Allie Wagner, Dallin Cuff, and the team behind them. We also thank Thorne and Cutter for their continued commitment to the league. To the draft players with us today and from watching from home, congratulations. We're thrilled to welcome you into the elite group of builders who, through their talent and dedication, have the opportunity to show uncompromising commitment to challenging yourselves and those around you to raise the bar. You inspire and exemplify possibilities. Regardless of today's outcome, congratulations on your achievements that are nothing short of a success and a journey that remains ongoing. With all of that, I thank you all for being with us today. I thank you for your support, and I think we're ready to get started. Chicago, you are now on the clock.
Chicago Red Stars are on the clock with the first overall draft pick with the late addition of Tierna Davidson to the talent of pool and draftees that declared for the draft today. How easy of a decision is this for Rory Dames to make?
Well, I think it's an extremely easy decision. I mean, if you're talking, when we talked to Rory Dames, he mentioned wanting to get the best player available. He has a core group, and he showed that this past season with a lot of players that hadn't gotten minutes in years prior. Got a ton of minutes, good group returning, and Tierna Davidson will just add to that mix.
That being said, we saw on the video that they were doing this, so does that mean a trade? Or was he doing that for fun? I don't know.
Maybe
but we know what this means.
Who knows? Yeah. He was making a cheer. Yeah. We don't know. We don't know anything yet, but we can take a look at the Chicago table right now.
Arnhem Whistler, the owner. You got Rory. You got their PR people. We wish we knew what they were saying. And I want to point out, So they don't need that timeout.
And we have some movement heading towards the front stage. It looks like the pick is being handed off. That's going to be some sort of record. It was 5 minutes on the clock, and we got 3:53 left.
And we have to say before they announce it, this is the first time that the #1 pick is in the city where the draft is being hosted. And this is the first time we've had the draft in a league city, so it's huge. And I'm so excited that you see behind Chicago, section 134, they really came out to represent today, and you got to give the fans credit for that.
Well, it adds so much to the atmosphere, and in addition to that, it shows these draftees the dedication of the fan groups. How important do you think that is, Lori, as an upcoming player, to see, wow, there's so many people who want to see me in this league?
Oh, it's so fun. I mean, if you look at the Washington Spirit, they have the Spirit Squadron. They've been at this event in the years past, and it just elevates the atmosphere, and you get excited, and it just shows the difference of the level between college and the pro level.
Oh, and the Sky Blue fans last year coming out in Philly, the Spirit Squadron the year before in Baltimore, it makes such a difference.
They have to be pretty hyped, too, because Chicago, on paper, they have a really good roster. So to add another spot that a #1 overall pick is only going to make you better immediately, it's something that Rory Dame said he's very much looking forward to. And he said they're looking for somebody who can make everyone on the field better. What qualities in a player help make their teammates better? Well, we're going to head over to the podium and find out who exactly that pick is. We'll answer that question right after this.
With the first pick in the first round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the Chicago Red Stars select Tierna Davidson from Stanford University. We have a special message from Tierna. Sky Blue FC, you are now on the clock.
Hi everyone, Tierna here. I'm in Portugal with the U.S. Women's National Team. I'm really bummed that I couldn't make it to the NWSL Draft, but I'm extremely honored to have been chosen #1 overall by the Chicago Red Stars. I'd like to thank Rory and the rest of the Red Stars organization for having confidence in me. I'd also like to thank my coaches, teammates, and family for pushing me to be a better player and person both on and off the field and supporting me in every decision that I make. I'd also like to thank the NWSL for putting on such an amazing event, and I'd like to congratulate the woman that will be drafted today. It's such an amazing time to be a women's soccer player in the United States. Finally, I'm very excited to start my club career at Chicago. It's my kind of town.
Well, they loved hearing that. She joins an elite group of players who were selected as #1 draft picks. As we take a look at this list, we had Andy Sullivan last year, Rose Lavelle. How do you think Davidson's skill set fits in with who we see here on the screen?
Well, I think the biggest piece for Davidson is already having played with the national team. She's played with Alyssa Nair, she's played with Julie Ertz, she's played with Casey Short. She can slot in. She's someone they already know. And I think that's not a skill set, but that's a value that it's hard to get with most of these players.
And especially as a center back, right? I mean, you're coming in an important position on a team that already has a good, solid core, and to help elevate those players even more is such a huge positive for this Chicago team.
From an analytical point of view, Lori, what makes her such an asset at center back? How does she play, and what kind of style does she possess?
Well, in my opinion, she's the most sophisticated player in this draft, and most sophisticated player we've seen in the drafts in most recent years. She is smooth on the ball, she's athletic enough, she's good in the air, she's a good leader, and as Jen mentioned, she's played with these players. She has international experience, so the transition from college to pro is not going to be as difficult as it is for some of these other players that are going to get drafted today.
She was a late addition to the list of players who did declare for the draft. You can see midfielder, defender she's listed as, but most likely we'll see here in the center back position coming out of Stanford. Just such a standout player, as you said. She's with the U.S. Women's National Team, but she was a late declare. The deadline was yesterday at 4 p.m. Central Time. Take a look at her now. She's also really good in the air physically. What did her late addition do to the other draftees in terms of order and when they'll get picked?
Well, we already knew with this draft falling earlier than previous years, it was really crunch time so little time for these coaches and clubs to figure out what they wanted to do. Also, you had clubs without coaches. So I know a lot of people that we talked to as we were preparing were like, well, if Tierna's in, this happens. If Tierna's in, this happens. And so it does kind of shift that order down. And I would not be surprised if we see some first-round trades that, because of that, it kind of affects all the other picks after it.
Well, the #1 pick is in, but Sky Blue is on the clock right now. 2 minutes left and some change left on the clock. The team conceded 52 goals last season. They said they really want to focus on adding defenders. Who's Ready going to look towards today?
I think they've got to go with Haley Mace. Before Tierna Davidson declared, we all thought that Haley Mace would go #1 to Chicago. And the most athletic player in this draft is Haley, and she can play. She's versatile. She can play in the back, center back, a position that Sky Blue desperately needs. She can play outside back. She can also play forward, another position that they will look to get some players into the mix today as well. So I think you have to go with Haley Mace.
And you look at the big picture, Sky Blue now has 8 picks with the trade that happened yesterday with Washington. That's now tied for the most picks in one draft. We have to acknowledge that it's been a really challenging year for Sky Blue. They know there's some players that are looking to go elsewhere. We've already seen a trade, Katie Johnson to Chicago. They have to look to gain as much talent from this draft as possible.
And they'll certainly look to do that a lot. As you said, 8 picks, and they have a lot of the spaces to fill. And Denise Reddy seems to kept the little things close to chest a little bit heading into this draft. But seeing that this is her second season with the team, 3 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, 1 third, and 2 in the 4th round. What is the dispersal of talent going to be like that she's able to bring in and compete for spots, given that she has picks all over the board? The pick is in, so we're going to head back to the podium and see where Sky Blue goes.
It's always in when you ask a good question.
With the #2 pick in the first round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, Sky Blue FC select Haley Mace from UCLA. A trade has been approved between Sky Blue FC and Washington Spirit. The Washington Spirit have acquired the 3rd pick in the first round. In exchange, the Sky Blue FC have acquired players to be named later and the 29th pick in the 4th round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft. Washington Spirit, you're now on the clock.
Taking a look at that Sky Blue table, making a trade too. So they still have 8 total picks. They're just moving down, and then they get some players to be named later. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But they're adding Haley Mace from UCLA to their team. She made her international debut last April. She missed half of her senior year with U.S. Women's National Team duties. She had such a huge impact on the UCLA roster. And even though she only played 13 games this year, she scored 9 goals and led the team in game-winning goals with 3. How is she going to fit right in with this Sky Blue team?
If you look at her athleticism, and we talked about it a second ago, that's what separates her. She still has a little bit of sophistication that she can on her technical ability, but really draft, and that alone will help separate her. Plus, as we talked about the World Cup being an issue with some of these players leaving, most likely she won't be vying for a spot for the World Cup, so Sky Blue will have her the entire season, which will allow her to kind of fit in and see where she fits best for this team.
Well, and I think it's really interesting with this trade now. So they still have 8 picks, but you can see that they realize, like, we can get value elsewhere. I'm really intrigued now that Washington Spirit has 3 and 4 back-to-back.
It is interesting because you always wonder, what does a team do with those consecutive picks? Do you first go for best available and then you go for your positional needs, knowing they're going to be there? What approach would you take?
I think if you're Washington, and you're looking to improve your roster, the competitiveness in the roster, you have a new coach, Richie Burke, coming in, you go with the best player possible with this 3rd pick, and then you start to take care of positional. So if I'm them and they want somebody that's going to make a difference maker, I'm either going with Leah Pruitt or even DiBiase, and then you start to chip away at some of the center backs and outside backs that you need.
Yeah, knowing the defensive struggles that they had, as well, not to the extent of Sky Blue, but that they need some defense, so that way you can get a creative player, but also you can shore up your defense having those back-to-back picks. And of course, we don't know who the player to be named later is, so of course that affects the picks too.
And he also, Richie Burke told us it's not a major overhaul or redirect in terms of taking over this club. He said it's more about just adding quality because they have really good players when you think of who's on the roster. As a member adding to this team, how do you start to fit in and gel with a team that already kind of has their shape a little bit?
Well, they do have a great core. You're exactly right. I mean, if you look at Hatch, you look at Pugh, Sullivan, and it just didn't mesh last year. But if they can find a few additional players that can be impact, then you start to be able to have somebody like a Tori Huster, find different positions for her. She's a versatile player. She can slip into different players or different positions where you need her, where she hasn't been utilized in the past.
What do you think the importance of trading up to be whoever gets selected, knowing that Washington made that effort to go get you?
Well, I mean, that makes you feel really flattered, one, but it also tells you that they had somebody very clearly in mind that they did not want to risk losing, you know, and that they were willing to give up something for.
It'll be interesting to see who that player is because Richie Burke didn't want to give up anybody. When we talked to him on the phone, he put a couple players on the non-negotiable list,
right?
So to speak. So it'll be interesting to see who he was willing to part with and what the upside of this new player has in comparison to who he let go.
And player to be named later is usually because they have not been able to notify the player yet, that they want the player to know before the rest of us know.
What kind of team do you think Richie Burke is going to put together?
That's so hard to read. Like, at least in Houston, I know James Clarkson, so even though he's new to women's soccer, I've got a sense of what he can do. Richie, it's going to be really interesting. I think we'll have a much better sense after the next couple hours based on who he picks, what he's going for. But it sounds like he's trying to stick with, you know, the group he has and just make it better.
We'll have a look at who he selects
with the third
first.
pick in the first round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the Washington Spirit select Jordan DiBiase from Stanford University. Washington Spirit, you are now on the clock.
Midfielder Jordan DiBiase heads over to the stage. It's so great to see these players here in attendance. What an incredible moment from her, and it's a great opportunity for us to hear what she has to say from her perspective, being able to address this crowd as she heads up to the podium.
Hi, thank you. It's always been my dream to play professional soccer, so I want to thank the NWSL and the Washington Spirit for this opportunity. I want to thank my family, my mom, dad, stepmom, Kath, for always supporting me and helping me live out this dream, and to my coaches, Paul, Hideki, Marguerite, Kaylee, the rest of the Stanford staff, Coach Tibbetts, Lee, Nick, for helping me grow as both a soccer player and a person. And thank you to Eric Boucher, Wes Hart, and the Colorado Rush, my youth soccer club. Mainly thank you to my teammates, Tegan, who's over there. You guys are my best friends. Thank you for pushing me every single day. And to my extended family and to my friends, thank you for supporting me, especially in these past 4 years. I'm really excited for this next challenge and to get to work. Thank you.
Great to hear from Jordan DiBiase, who was selected number 3 overall by the Washington Spirit. And what you could get a sense from that speech is something that Mark Parsons of the Portland Thorns spoke to, is that she seems like the best person everyone has met. She just has that personality about her where people are drawn to her personality, people confide in her, and you could get a little sense of that, how grateful she was to be part of this. But furthermore, she's been so clutch for Stanford. And she's hit some big-time moments, and we're going to get to hear a little more from Jordan, who's with our own Jordan Angeli down on the draft room floor. Jordan?
Dose of Jordan, so that's pretty good. I've known Jordan DiBiase for a long time, so this is a little reunion for us. But Jordan, you just spoke to this, but you get to be reunited with Andy Sullivan, an old teammate of yours. Is that a pretty nice thing? With all these new changes, it's nice to have someone you know.
Oh, for sure. Annie has been a role model to me since college and even before that, and to have been able to play with her for 3 years at Stanford was so awesome. I learned so much, and then now to get the opportunity to play with her again, I couldn't be happier.
And you racked up a lot of accolades in your collegiate career, but you had a lot of help along the way. You mentioned some of those people that helped you, but you have a nice training partner back at home too, Lindsey. How is it to know somebody that you can talk and ask these questions to about the league?
Yeah, Lindsey has been my mentor since, gosh, I don't know how long, since I was little. I remember being maybe 12 years old, and my coaches tell me, watch Lindsey, watch what she does, and every single day I've just tried to replicate her passion, her hard work, her dedication, and her work ethic as she plays.
But for you, Jord, complete player is what we kept hearing, a real footballer. You're going to bring some of that pizzazz to the Spirit. I know the Squadron's probably watching this. You want to say something to the Spirit Squadron?
Go Spirit, I can't wait.
All right, Jord, thanks. Back to you, Marisa.
Thanks, Jordan, so much. Great to hear from Jordan DiBiase joining the Washington Spirit, who are once again on the clock with the 4th pick. And it's so great to hear from Jordan DiBiase because she's played with Andy Sullivan, and to have Lindsey as your mentor at age 12, that adds so much to your repertoire as well. How do you expect to see her transition into this league?
This pick for the Washington Spirit, because if you look at the roster on paper, it doesn't look like they need any more. At the same time, if you're going to, for a competitive edge, continue to build your roster, she's going to fit in seamlessly, I think. And as Jordan Angeli mentioned, she has played with Andy. There's going to be some camaraderie there. And then now you start to build out the positions that you need, and it's just going to continue to strengthen this roster.
And I got to mention, from a historical perspective, that's 2 Stanford picks in the top 3, plus a UCLA, which means now UCLA and Stanford are tied with North Carolina, Virginia, and Duke, 12 all-time picks for the lead. That kind of tells you that there's your Fab 5 of schools that have been feeding this league.
I love the facts you come out with, Jen. It just makes everything so much more interesting. And you have so much experience watching this league, and you've seen teammates from college play together, and we'll see who Washington picks now with the 4th overall pick.
With the 4th pick in the first round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the Washington Spirit select Samantha Staub from Clemson University. North Carolina Courage, you are now on the clock.
Another draftee in attendance, defender from Clemson, Samantha Staub, making her way to the podium. This is another opportunity here from her perspective, what she's most looking forward to. She's going to be joining, as we just saw, Jordan DiBiase with the Washington Spirit. She makes her way up to the stage. 3 of her 4 years at Clemson, she led the team in assists. In 2018, she recorded 11. She was a 2018 ACC Defensive Player of the Year, and we'll get to hear from Samantha as she makes her way up to the podium right now as the number 4 overall pick.
Hello. Hi. I just want to say thank you to my family, my parents, my brother, my coaches at Clemson, sitting over there, Julie and Eddie. This is awesome. My club coach, Felicia, she's here too. I would love to thank the Washington Spirit for believing in me and all the NWSL coaches. Congrats to all the girls that are here too. I'm just so excited for this opportunity. Thank you.
Some great emotion out of Samantha Staub, who just was selected by the Washington Spirit with the 4th overall pick. As I said, 2018 ACC Defensive Player of the Year. She's naturally left-footed, which is always a plus when coaches are looking for that. But one question may be her speed adapting to this league. How can she improve her pace?
Right, I'm really excited to see Washington take a center back because, you know, as we've talked about, they've had defensive issues last year. The loss of Taylor Smith due to an ACL injury, that's huge. You know, and I'm excited too that you know, Clemson's getting a first-round pick.
It's exciting for the program, no doubt, and it for sure was exciting for Samantha Staub, who is down on the floor with our very own Jordan Angeli.
It was exciting for Samantha Staub, who I'm with right now. She just took a deep breath and went, whew. Hey, I saw you standing up there and you looked up. You saw yourself up there. Is this a surreal moment or what?
Yes. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is a dream come true. I have wanted to play professional soccer since I was a little girl, and just like being here is just the coolest thing in the world.
We've been told you have the golden ticket. It's that left foot of yours. You can play balls on a dime. What would you say some other good qualities of your game are?
I also can throw the ball about a mile, so I know a lot of people like to utilize that, but I would just say I'm a competitor more than anything. So
You are, and we're so happy to have you in the league. Congratulations, Samantha. Enjoy the rest of your day. Soak it all up. Back to you guys.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Jordan. Throw the ball about a mile. That's an opportunity to almost use that as a set piece, wouldn't you say? So a good opportunity for the Washington to add some more talent. What makes her such an assist machine? She was crazy productive for Clemson. And Jen, I had a question for you back when we were talking about Jordan DiBiase, who's picked third. Is she's joining a college teammate, Andy Sullivan, in Washington. From your perspective over the years, how has college teammates transitioned to the pros, and how has that helped them adjust when they join somebody that they've played with before?
I think that makes such a huge difference that you're joining a club where you already know somebody. It's somebody that you've played with before, and you've got a comfort zone. It's a big transition going from college to pro, and I think any other little piece like that to make it easier, that's going to be huge.
We're going to check in with the North Carolina Courage, who are on the clock right now. Just 3 picks total for the Courage this year, and we're going to find out who that first one is.
With the 5th pick in the first round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the North Carolina Courage select Leah Pruitt from the University of Southern California. Sky Blue FC, you are now on the clock.
Leah Pruitt making her way, a forward adding to North Carolina Courage's already stellar offensive team. This should be exciting to see how it pans out over the year, and exciting for her, no doubt, to join such a team that's coming off a marquee season, a historical season in the league. We get to hear from Leah in just a few moments.
Hi, everybody. I'm so excited for this opportunity, and I just want to thank my coaches that I've grown up with, Kadani, Jason at USC, my teammates at USC. You guys definitely pushed me to be where I am today, and I'm just really excited to start my new journey, so thank you.
And to the point, we like hearing from Leah Pruitt, forward from USC, heading over to the North Carolina Courage, joining Paul Riley. He said basically she has the ability to adapt and play in this league. Jen, how high on Leah Pruitt was Paul Riley when we talked to him?
Not just Paul Riley, but several other coaches. And she was, I mean, to go back a couple years, she was a huge super sub for USC in their 2016 title run, but she's got a lot to bring.
Big, strong striker, and if you look at Paul Riley's team and the way he likes to attack, she's a Lynn Williams-esque type player. If they need players to come off the bench, Leah Pruitt is going to be such a difference maker for this team.
And she led the Pac-12 in game-winning goals with 6. That says a lot about her in clutch moments. 12 goals, 9 assists her senior year, and she, as you mentioned, she did transfer from San Diego State, but she is right now down on the floor with our very own Jordan Angeli.
First met Leah Pruitt, your coach described you as a bull in a china shop, but you have matured over your time at USC. Was this a cool moment? And you're going to the champs. Are you excited about that?
I'm so excited. You know, it's always been a dream to play professional soccer, and I feel like I've really grown as a player throughout my year in college. So I'm just excited to keep growing and going to a championship team. I'm sure I'm gonna improve even more. So yeah, I'm really excited to go here.
You are going to improve. That's absolutely for sure. But I talked about the maturity. What do you think about your game has matured over the last 4 years?
I think just like my maturity as a forward, like just knowing the right place to make the right touches, like when to get rid of it, when to pass it, just know like how to work with my teammates, just know what works. So I think that's what's helped me.
And you're gonna have some fun new teammates to help you out too. Lynn Williams, we've got some Lynn Williams-esque in you, and Jess McDonald. You're gonna have a good time. Congratulations, Leah. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you.
All right, guys, back up to you.
Thanks, guys, so much. She is joining a team that set league records with 17 wins, 53 regular season goals, and 57 regular season points. It's hard enough for players to break into an NWSL roster, but when a team is this talented, how can Pruitt help to do that?
Well, I mean, just with her sheer ability to take players on, and Jordan mentioned a bull in the china shop, I think that's a fair comment about her, and I think she should take that as a great compliment. And just seeing how playing with Paul in years prior and knowing what he's done for other forwards, Amy Rodriguez is one when we played with Philadelphia Independence in the WPS. He is going to invest time in Leah Pruitt. Her ceiling is so high, and her ability to maybe come off the bench at the beginning, test her, get her feet wet in this league, and then start to make an impact as a starter will be key.
And Jen, you said she was a super sub when she first got to her new team. So how much does that speak to a coach knowing she's comfortable coming off the bench and improving herself a little bit?
Well, and no player wants to come off the bench, but hey, if you're being signed by North Carolina, the champion, Supporter Shield holder, you know they're not going to say, oh, here's your starting spot. So we know Paul Riley's looking for someone who knows that it's not going to be an immediate addition. It's going to be a process that, you know, you have to have some maturity and patience, but if you do the work, the opportunity's there.
But I think with Leah, she does have the ability to step in some of these games immediately, and this is why this is such a good pick for them right away, because she does have the talent to be able to come in and just create some havoc in there and get some goals early on.
Something Paul Riley really stressed was maturity in these players. He wants them to understand we may give you a developmental contract, but that means you're only going to get better. Sky Blue is on the clock. Let's see who they take with the number 6 overall pick.
With the 6th pick in the first round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, Sky Blue FC select Julia Ashley from the University of North Carolina. Washington Spirit, you are now on the clock.
A Verona, New Jersey native is heading to Sky Blue. We know they like their local players out in Sky Blue. Sky Blue already added a forward to their team. Now they're taking care of some defensive players right now, adding Julia Ashley to their roster. 4-year starter for the Tar Heels, and she helped the team win 60 games and the 2016 ACC Championship. In 2018, she was tied with the most goals, despite being a defender with 6, and she had most assists with 10. Very versatile player, can get involved in the attack. It's great to have her here with us. Let's see what she has to say.
Hi, everyone. Sky Blue, thank you so much for this incredible opportunity. I want to thank Anson Dorrance and Damon Nahas for really helping me throughout this entire process. I want to thank my teammates back at UNC for this incredible past year that we've had, and just for my entire experience there. I want to thank my mom, my dad, my family. Yeah, I'm really excited for this new opportunity. Thank you.
Julia Ashley, defender from UNC, heading to Sky Blue, back home to New Jersey. And she mentioned her head coach, Anson Dorrance, and he told college papers that she might be the fittest player he's ever coached. She ran 11 miles in the College Cup quarterfinals against UCLA. She has a crazy motor. And also he said she's a fabulous leader. She's not afraid to hold her teammates accountable. So how much does that play a role in transitioning to the league? How will a young player assert her leadership skills when going to a professional team?
Well, those are the qualities you need to come in and make an impact right away, right? You can be a good technical player, but if you want to make a difference in this league with her engine vision that she has to get up and down the field, and some of those just like innate qualities are what's going to help her transition quicker. So this is a massive pickup for Sky Blue in terms of positional, but also a player that could potentially step in and play right away.
And Jordan's down on the floor with her. Jordan?
Julia Ashley gets to go home. We just talked about this. You've been to many Sky Blue games. Now you get to play on the field. What's that feeling like?
It's pretty incredible to think that I have the opportunity to possibly go back and play with my home team. Yeah. So.
And over there, I saw someone holding up a phone and videotaping. Who's with you today?
My mom, my dad, my boyfriend are here.
I love it. I love it. Good to have that support. Yeah. And I hear you got a good engine. You're really fit. So I'm going to throw it back to you guys, and we're going to talk about fitness routines because I'm going to need some fitness tips here from Julia Ashley.
Share them with us when you're done, though. Don't just hog them all for yourself,
I will.
Jordan.
I'll share them with you. Don't worry.
We're going to check back. Jordan's doing burpees with Julia Ashley.
Well, we have to say, Marisa, you know, Julia Ashley could have been a Division I track athlete, and she stuck with soccer. So that right there says everything to me about fitness.
What have you seen about those two-sport athletes who are versatile in the variety of athleticism they possess?
Well, other than the fact that they're clearly insane.
Clearly.
Actually, you know, that kind of cross-training is kind of better for your body all around. And I think also they don't get as burned out just doing one sport. I mean, it's easy for me to say as someone who was not a multi-sport athlete, but I think that certainly helps long-term.
We were talking about the leadership she possesses, too, and it's such an asset for her. And a lot of her teammates said she'll have those tough discussions with her team. How much does Sky Blue need somebody like that?
I think that's what they were lacking last year, somebody that looked like they were going to step up and make an impact. And it was kind of like there is very passive amongst all the players last year. So somebody that can come in, again, that can make an impact as a rookie, but also just elevate the competition within the team is going to take the Sky Blue team to the next level.
All right, let's check back in with the podium. The next pick is in.
With the 7th pick in the first round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the Washington Spirit select Tegan McGrady from Stanford University. Washington Spirit, you are now on the clock.
Another defender selected in this 2019 NWSL Draft, Tegan McGrady out of Stanford, another Stanford player too. So Jen, update those stats for us. We got to know.
13 is now 13 for North Carolina and Stanford.
All right. We got to see who else gets in. We got the 7th pick, 2 more picks to see if somebody can break that tie a little bit. She had an amazing collegiate career, an All-American, and we'll hear from her right now.
First of all, I would just like to start off thanking Washington Spirit and the whole NWSL. It has been a childhood dream of mine to be playing professional soccer. Ever since I was a little girl, I just dreamed of being a professional soccer player, and I can't wait to start my journey. I'd also like to thank my parents and my sister. My dad's here today, and my mom and sister at home, but they have been instrumental parts of my life and my career. They've made me the person that I am today, and I really wouldn't be here without them. I'd like to thank also my coaches from club, Seth, and from college, Marguerite, Paul, Hideki, Kaylee, and the rest of our staff. They've all been also huge parts of my life and making me the soccer player that I am today and an amazing person. I also want to thank my teammates and my boyfriend. You guys have been with me through everything, and I really don't think that I could be in this without you guys. So thank you so much, and I can't wait to get started. Thank you.
You can hear so much emotion in her voice as she addresses this crowd. So great to have her dad in the crowd with her as well. A left back from Stanford University, an All-American, 1 goal, 2 assists in 2018. But she also has some international experience as well. She was called up through a lot of youth groups. Lori, what makes her a great defensive back?
Well, we've talked about being a left-footed player, which is massive for a lot of these teams to pick up because it's difficult to find a true left-footed player. But for her ability to get up and down the field, create service, it's just going to allow this Washington Spirit team to create and be a more of attacking, energized, going forward team. And so she's just going to add to that. And this draft is really panning out exactly how they wanted it. They go with the best player they feel is available, and now they're starting to chip away at the positions that they felt they needed the most.
And here's a player that has 1 cap for the U.S. national team already, so you know she's got a future.
We'll hear from her now. She's with our own Jordan Angeli on the floor.
I was just telling her, she almost made me cry a little bit when she was up there talking about her family. Really cool moment here. As we were prepping for this, everybody's describing your game as crafty. How would you describe your game?
Everyone knows that my left foot is something special. I know it's something special about me, but also getting up and down the field, not only defending but attacking, is something that I take a lot of pride in, and I think that's going to really come in handy when I come into the league.
I agree with you full-heartedly. And then you're going to a Washington Spirit team that now has a lot of Stanford flair to it, right? Andy Sullivan already there. Jordan DiBiase is just behind here waiting for you too. Pretty nice to have that comfort even with all these changes.
Of course, those two are people that I've now played with for the past 3 years, and it's amazing to be able to go back to them. I'm so comfortable with them. They're amazing people, and I cannot wait to get back on the field with them.
All right, I'm sure they're going to have a good reunion, her and Jordan, in the back here, but congratulations, and I'll send it back to you guys.
Thanks, Jordan. Washington Spirit is on the clock once again, but we've seen them now make three picks already. How do you see this team shaping up right now, seeing their first 3 picks, Jen?
Well, they're grabbing all the good stuff for the most part. But hey, if you had such a frustrating season and you changed your coach, that's the tactic to take.
You have to be aggressive. You have to go after what you want. I wouldn't be surprised now if this next pick they go with another center back. Prisock from USC could potentially be the next pick for them. But again, you got to be aggressive, continue to find those spots that can solidify your defense, because then it just allows other players to slot into, more versatile players to slot into other positions.
And do you think that's the best person available right now?
Yes, I would say so. In terms of defense that they need, defenders that they need, shore up the defense, and then again, as we mentioned, a Tori Huster who's versatile. It just gives you a little bit more wiggle room amongst your team to shift players around and see what the best combinations are.
It's interesting to see how Richie Burke is planning out this team, because this is his first time doing something like this. It's a big endeavor to take on, and we're kind of seeing how his brain works a little bit.
But he's got Tom Torres, assistant coach, and who was the interim coach with the club last season, that, you know, it's like at least he's got some reference points.
For sure, yeah. And what kind of style do you think he's going for when is he going to completely redefine this Washington Spirit team?
I can't see that with the talent that they already have. When you have a Lavelle in the middle, and we know there's a lot more potential to Ashley Hatch, and Pugh's healthy now, I don't see complete redefinition.
Let's take a look at some of the picks that have already been selected in this first round, because Washington Spirit is still on the clock with that number 8 overall pick.
Ladies and gentlemen, Washington Spirit have taken a timeout.
And that's our first time out.
And the crowd dies with the first time out, but we're going to check back in with Jordan Angeli on the floor.
Well, you guys, I heard some boos because it's a timeout, but it's not a timeout for us. We're going to have some good interviews during the timeouts because that's what we're here for. I've got Haley Carter here, former NWSL player for the Houston Dash. And Haley, you're here at the convention because you're running for board of directors for United Soccer Coaches. What made you make that decision to run for the board?
Yeah, so, you know, I also coach the Afghanistan women's national team, and I found that my ability to empower players on and off the pitch is just tremendous. And I want to be able to extend outreach of the association as much as possible so that all coaches, whether they're part-time, full-time, youth, college, pro, high school, that they all have that opportunity to get involved. And, you know, whether they're 40 years old and a first-time head coach of a high school, that they have the opportunity to grow and learn in the craft of coaching. And so I was really fortunate. I just want to make sure that, you know, as the association, we really conserve the membership and pay that forward.
And you've been walking around the convention, but you had to stop in here. What were your first impressions of the draft room?
I mean, it's come such a long way since 2013. I mean, it's really, to look around, it's kind of insane. And of course, this isn't my first draft to attend, but other ones that I'd missed, you know, I would be in Colorado or wherever, and I would be streaming it, just listening to it. And, you know, it's for it to grow into what it is just, it's amazing. It's really great to see this come along and blossom, and I'm getting a little emotional about it.
Well, we love that, and we're so thankful for what you're doing, and good luck in your running for board.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. It's great to be here. Yeah.
All right, you guys, I'm going to send it back up to you and see what info we
have.
Thanks,
Jordan. Back
on what's
on
coming
the
up.
Clock is Washington Spirit. Why was that timeout so significant?
They're working on something. I mean,
we have no idea right now.
Well, as I mentioned before, there's been such a little window for trades to happen. It's been a very quiet off season. We already had a couple of trades yesterday, and then that big trade with the number 3 pick. So this could be a trade, or this just could be, well, maybe we haven't talked to the player, or maybe we're not sure, or somebody couldn't find the file.
Yeah, I'm sitting on pins and needles. I want to know, because you think he wants to continue to add quality, but is he looking to add that quality from somebody who's already in the league?
Right. And we know that there are teams that have been looking to trade up. I mean, we're already pretty far down into the first round, but there could be someone from below, like, Houston hasn't picked yet, saying, hey, I want that pick.
I also wonder if there's an aspect of it is, are they going to really try to get somebody that they need immediately, or are they going to get somebody that they feel they might not need and then eventually make some other trades down the line?
If they are trading away this pick, what team do you think could possibly want to get into that first round?
I mean, my first guess is Houston, having nothing in the first round and knowing that the bulk of their roster is coming back, but with the World Cup, you have a lot of international absences.
Well, all of our questions will be answered, because we're going to head over to the podium and find out what's been happening.
With the 8th pick in the first round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the Washington Spirit select Dorian Bailey from the University of North Carolina. North Carolina Courage, you are now on the clock.
Oh, with all of that waiting, it's Dorian Bailey, a forward midfielder from UNC Chapel Hill, another UNC member off the board, this time a midfielder, heading out to Washington. What do you make of this pick, Lori?
Well, this is a bit surprising to me, because as we've seen, and you're looking at this list of center mids for this Washington Spirit team, you don't really think they need any more center mids, and I don't see her playing many other positions. It's not like she's a versatile player. She is a box-to-box midfield. She's a very good midfielder, but when you have picked up DiBiase, you already have Andy Sullivan in there. Now maybe they're looking for, in case somebody goes to the World Cup and plays and they're missing players. But at the same time, I'm also wondering if they're just trying to get the best players available, and then they can make some bundles and look to trade for seasoned players already.
Yeah, I think you have to be looking at that as well when there's still so much uncertainty. Sure, you can look at your roster and say these people are coming back, but a lot of players haven't signed yet. So if they haven't signed, rosters aren't, totally set.
And here's a look at Washington's draft selections as of right now. They have Jordan DiBiase, Samantha Staub, Tegan McGrady, and then Dorian Bailey. So, any similarities, like core similarities you're seeing between who they're trying to pick?
I don't think there's much difference between, I rate DiBiase very high. I think she's one of the craftiest players, most sophisticated players in this draft. But then you start to add a Dorian Bailey, it starts to get a little redundant. And so, again, I think there could be some sort of bundle and trade coming eventually for a player that has been in this league that can make an impact, especially when World Cup players are gone.
Perhaps they know somebody who wants Dorian Bailey and didn't have...
And we have to keep in mind that being drafted, all that really means is that you're guaranteed a spot in preseason. Preseason starts March 4th. You report for preseason. A lot can change between March 4th and that day in mid-April where the roster has to be cut down to 22 plus 4 supplemental. So...
And we see it's so tough. Almost 75% of these women who get drafted have to really fight. If you're not maybe in that upper echelon of draft selections, you're really, really battling for these. So it would be interesting to see what the future holds for Dorian Bailey. But Washington's done with their first round draft picks. They had 4. How would you grade this first round for Washington?
I think they did really well. And this is only the 3rd time in draft history that we've had one team get 4 picks. I would not say that they rocked it as much as Western New York Flash did in 2015 when they got Mewis, Hinkle, Dahlkemper, and Lynn Williams. Which, of course, it's easy looking back 4 years of wow, those names. But, it's a great draft for Washington. That's a great way to start building a new team, but not building from scratch.
Right, because that's what he said. He doesn't want to blow this roster up. He just wants to tweak it a little here and there. Are you surprised with any of these selections other than maybe Dorian Bailey?
No, not really. In fact, I agree with Jen. They've done extremely well with this draft. They went after the top player in DiBiase and then started to fill in the positional players with Staub and McGrady in the back line. And then you had Dorian Bailey, and you're just starting to make that that roster even more competitive. So I think they were aggressive. They went after what they wanted, traded up to get some spots, and I think that's a sign with this Richie Burke coming in, and that gives your team some excitement to wrap around after a pretty...
Carolina is on the clock right now, minute and 30 on the clock left for them. They already chose Leah Pruitt, forward out of USC. Where could they go next? We'll find out at the podium. The pick is in.
And we'll find out.
With the 9th pick in the first round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the North Carolina Courage select Haley Harbison from Pepperdine University. This will conclude the first round.
Haley Harbison from Pepperdine. This was a name that was thrown out quite a bit. Laura, you look a little surprised.
I think this is a fantastic pickup. She's an outside player. I mean, one of her keys is her ability to paint the field, get up and down the field, the engine. I think she has a huge upside. Playing under Paul Riley, I think it's going to be a massive development for her. And I think she's a player that can really come in and fight for a position early on.
Let's hear from her now.
Hi. My public speaking class didn't really prepare me for this moment, but thank you to the Courage for choosing me and for taking a chance on me. Thank you to my Pepperdine coaches and teammates and staff, and my Sharks coach and teammate, Felicia Kappas, and my mom for always pushing me to be my best. Thank you.
A little bit nerves coming from Haley Harbison, but what's interesting is Paul Riley said he likes how she plays her position, and said they'd be looking for her at 14, but instead they got her at 9.
Yeah, he must have been thrilled when she was still there and they had that pick. And I think she could almost be a Crystal Dunn in that she's a defender, but she can get forward, where obviously Crystal's more of a forward. But the way Paul Riley has used Crystal all over the field, Harbison's gonna fit into their system really well.
She's out on the floor with Jordan. Let's hear from herself.
All right, we're just talking about how you get to be reunited with your old teammate, Lynn Williams. How exciting is that?
It's super exciting. I was just texting her yesterday, and I couldn't even imagine being on the same team as her again. It's like my dream.
I talked to many coaches, and everybody said, you just show up. You find a way to find the ball and make a difference. Are you excited to bring that kind of energy to this North Carolina team who's known for their energy?
Yeah, I've watched them play over the years, and that's one of the things I love about them. And yeah, I'm excited to bring some energy.
All right. Well, you're going to take a deep breath. We're so excited for you. Congratulations on making it into the league, and enjoy the rest of your day, girl.
Thank you.
Back up to you, Marissa.
Thanks, Jordan. It's so great having Jordan down there, and it's also so great to have so many draftees here in attendance. It makes it such a great environment, and what a first round. We've seen 4 teams select 9 different players. Here's a look at how that first round played out. Who is your favorite selection for their respective team?
Well, I gotta love, now it's all kind of blurred. Was it Pruitt who almost lost it at the, who lost it up on the stage? Was that McGrady? McGrady who just
I think so.
She has a special left foot.
Yes, yes.
Well, they are all going to be rookies, hopefully heading into this next season, and let's see some advice some of these tenured players have for them heading into their first year in NWSL.
Congrats to 2019 NWSL draftees. What a rewarding moment for you. My advice to you is, if your opportunity doesn't come at the beginning of the season, it doesn't mean your chance won't happen later. You roll your sleeves up, you work hard, and you control what you can. Go Pride.
Hi, this is Heather O'Reilly, and my biggest piece of advice for the upcoming 2019 incoming NWSL draft is to come into preseason fit. You'll gain a lot of respect from your peers and teammates if you're one of the fittest players on the field.
Congrats 2019 draftees. Some advice I'd give you for your rookie season is to always work hard and take advantage of every opportunity that comes your way. Good luck. See you soon.
I remember the draft like it was yesterday, and the best advice I can give you is just to listen. Listen to your coaches and your teammates. The amount of knowledge these people have can really take you a long way.
My advice for the 2019 draft class is just remember, it doesn't matter if you go in the first round, if you go undrafted, or you're the second to last pick. If you get an opportunity, take it, because you can make a difference in this league.
Hi guys, Haley Hansen here. Just wanted to congratulate you all on taking the first steps and starting your NWSL careers. Some of the best times I've had thus far in my professional career is just having such great teammates surrounding me, developing those relationships, as well as competing with and against some of the best players in the world, and being a part of a league that is really paving the way for women's soccer in this country. And so you guys have a lot to look forward to. My best advice would just to be take each moment as it comes, don't take it for granted, and give it your all. Good luck.
Congratulations to the 2019 draft class. My advice to you is be in the present. Really take in and enjoy every moment of this awesome experience that you've been given.
My advice for a rookie would be to have patience through the whole process of coming out of college. You're going to have a lot of highs and lows, but if you can remember to stay patient, it's all worth it.
My advice for the 2019 draft class is to enjoy the moment. It's such an amazing feeling hearing your name called, and just enjoy that time with friends and family. Be proud of how far you've come in your soccer career, and if your name isn't called, then don't give up. No one said it would be easy, they just said it would be worth it, so just get back to the grind.
And in my rookie season, I learned that just be yourself. Your teammates really want to get to know you for who you really are, so don't be shy, don't hold back, just be yourself because they'll love you for who you are. And my teammates have always told me I was never shy from day one, and I really appreciated that they knew who I was.
My advice to the 2019 rookie draft class would be just don't ever give up. You never know when your opportunity is going to come, and when it does, you want to be ready for it. So always stay switched on and just keep fighting. You guys got it.
Hi everyone. I just wanted to congratulate the 2019 draft class on your selection today. My best advice is to enjoy today, recognize the dream come true, and then get to work. If I've learned anything on my journey, it's that you get back what you give. Opportunities in this league are not easy to come by, so you want to be prepared the day your name is called. Good luck, congratulations again, and get to work.
Welcome back to the 2019 NWSL College Draft. Marisa Pilla, Lori Lindsey, please be joined with Amanda Duffy, NWSL Managing Director. Thanks so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
This is the 7th NWSL College Draft, and over the years, it just keeps getting bigger and better. What advancements are you most proud about?
Well, it's really special to be in this room and have the audience, the players that are a part of today's event, and just the magnitude of what the College Draft has become and the meaning of it. With the players and fans that are here a part of it. But over 7 years, when we think about the ownerships that have come into the league and the commitment of those owners and really raising the profile and the stability of what we're doing as National Women's Soccer League and the longest standing operating women's professional soccer league that's been in the United States. Think about the facilities and the resources that are putting towards the environments and the markets to help the players and athletes be successful in those markets. And the building a relationship with the players, we're really tremendously excited about collaborating with them and opening up that dialogue to be benefit to the players and to the league, both sides of it. And the support from the fans is just really critical to the growth of the league, and it shows the value of what we're doing and the importance of what we're doing. And the athletes are such an inspiration to the young players that look up to them and to the fans that look to them in such an admirable way. And so it's just, there's been so many highlights that have occurred throughout the years, and really excited to kick off the 7th season today.
And then keeping on the topic of advancements, can you talk specifically about the 4 supplemental players, the additional players on the roster, and the salary increases?
Well, it's really important that we continue to grow with the compensation areas and the benefits that we provide to the players. They're employees of NWSL, and we want to continue to build the relationship and create the right environments and environments that do allow them to be successful and feel comfortable and feel like they're really developing as players and as athletes and as people in their lives. So, being able to create more opportunities for players to be a part of what we're doing and create, you know, larger pools of players in an environment that can be more competitive, that we think will continue to push the level and quality of the game is so important. And we're so pleased that the owners are supporting that and excited to have more players a part of what we're doing.
And that's so critical in a World Cup year when we are going to need players to step up and have additional players on the roster.
It is. It's going to be a big year for us for so many reasons with the Women's World Cup. But having the players that are going to be given opportunities that they may not have other had in a non-event year is going to be really great.
It's exciting to see who takes advantage of those opportunities when they come. The first round is over here, the 2019 NWSL Draft, but let's take a look back at some of the best talent to come out of the first round over the years.
McCaskill! Savannah McCaskill with a brilliant lob. Dorsey finishes off an outstanding move for Sky Blue.
The shot taken by Hatch, it's a beauty. Crystal Dunn in the area and a big tackle defensively from Sonnet.
Onside, crosses, the finish! Rachel Daly, her third goal of the season. Killian, the equalizer for Sky Blue.
Blocked by a backtracking Dahlkemper.
Lewis. The shot is a hard one, and it's in!
Beautiful finish from Lynn Williams.
It's a nice move there, huh, by Gilliland. Nagasato was defended well. Colafrico picks it up. The volley is in the goal!
Crystal Dunn there to clean it up and volley one home.
What a goal from Ojai! Plays toward the middle, it's headed toward the net and in! Julie Ertz! Vanessa DiBernardo! Headed by Short, right up against the post and in!
We'll see what happens here first. With Taylor and a big reaction save from French. She'll get it back, Christine Nairn. Trying to test Eckerstrom and Christine Nairn. What a goal!
Welcome back to the 2019 NWSL Draft. This is how the first round played out. Lori, Jen, who won the first round?
Well, I think we did. There was, what, just the one timeout? But I'm torn between Washington Spirit cleaning up with 4 really solid players, but also looking at North Carolina, Leah Pruitt, Haley Harbison, game changers in my opinion, and what Paul Riley is going to be able to do with them. I think I'd give him second place, but only by nose.
Jen stole my picks.
Jen!
No, I agree, though. I think Washington Spirit did a good job, especially with being aggressive in the picks that they needed. But I'll give the edge to North Carolina. I mean, they're such a solid team, winning the 2018 championship, and then coming here and get 2 massive picks. And with a coach like Paul Riley and his staff, these are 2 players that are going to get into an amazing training environment right away. And I think that they could have such an impact early on, right away, whether they're coming off the bench or they're starters.
We were talking a little bit about Haley Harbison, who was picked 9th overall by North Carolina, and you said you were a little surprised she went that high, but why will she succeed in that type of environment?
Well, one, it's the training environment, and you're right. I did think that she went higher than a lot of us expected too, and I think it's just how that played out in the first round with some trades being made. But at the same time, kind of an unorthodox player. She has the ability to paint the field, her engine, get up and down. That's going to be needed in the type of attacking style play that North Carolina plays. And then she has some versatility. She can play out wide, and with the way they play in that box midfield, can she play as a winger, can she play up top, or can she play out wide in the back and just create depth in that position?
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. You also mentioned Samantha Staub getting selected 4th overall by Washington, another team you said won the first round. Staub, how surprising was it to see her go that high? She was rated pretty highly, but did you think a top 5?
Yeah, actually I did. I don't think too surprising. Maybe not top 5 because I didn't think that Washington was going to have that many picks. I thought they were going to get her the 6th or 7th pick, or 7th and 8th. I can't even remember. There's been so many trades now. But at the same time, I think that's a massive pickup for them because just her ability to play long balls, talking to a lot of the coaches in the ACC, all ranked her high with just her composure back there, her leadership ability. The one question mark will be her speed and pace back there, especially if the Washington Spirit want to play a high line. It will be a factor on who she partners up with there in the center back. But other than that, I think she's a player that as well can come in and be a bit of surprise and make an impact.
The first round has wrapped up. The second round is just a few moments away. This is how it will play out with Sky Blue with the 10th and 11th pick. Houston gets the 12th and 13th, followed by North Carolina. Chicago, once again, Houston back on the clock at the 16th pick. Then Portland gets a go at it at 17, and Houston closes out the second round. Jen, from what you saw how the first round played out, what are your expectations for the second round?
Well, first we have to point out Houston having 4 picks. They haven't picked anything yet. Having 4 picks in the second round is great, because there's so much talent still to be pulled from this draft.
That second round is going to start right now as we head back to the stage with Amanda Duffy.
The second round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft will now begin. Sky Blue SC, you are on the clock.
To continue your thought, Jen, how do you think this is going to play out specifically for Sky Blue?
Well, Sky Blue with the first 2 picks in this round, they're sitting pretty. They gave away some of their first round picks, so it's telling me that they've got other plans, that they've got certain players in mind. You know, I think they still need to make some defensive picks. There's a lot of strengthening that this team has to do, so I can't wait to see who they pick. And I think I'm always fascinated when you have back-to-back picks, how they decide which one to pick when.
Right. And what does that mean for the player on top of it? It plays a role for sure. But as you said, they want to add some more defensive prowess to their team. They picked 1 defender in the first round. Do you agree? Do you think they will go defensively with this selection?
The big question is where they're going to play Mace and how they're going to utilize her. Because if they play her in the back, then I say you start to look at some of the attacking players or even solidify somebody that can play the number 10 position. But if they're going to play her up top or utilize Mace more up top, then I think I agree with Jen. You've got to shore it up in the defense, get more depth back there.
Our 4th member of the crew, Jordan Angeli, is on the floor with a very special guest Hall of Famer, JP Dellacamera.
Oh, you stole my line, Marissa. I was going to say, we got a Hall of Famer with us, JP Dellacamera. This is your first NWSL draft. What's your first impression?
I like the energy here. The Chicago Red Stars fans were fantastic with that first pick. I'm not surprised that Davidson went 1 and Mace went 2. I think those are the 2 best players, but I always like the energy in a draft, and I think unlike the men's game, these college kids can go right to NWSL or national teams and play. The men's game is a little bit different. The college game is structured differently so that they don't have the same opportunity as the women do, and some of our coaches don't play the Americans. Some do, some don't, but I think in the women's game it's different. It's better that way.
And you know a thing or two about the women's game, calling your first Women's World Cup in '95. Now, this is a World Cup year, and what are you most excited about this World Cup in France?
I think you're always excited about World Cups, but so many things could happen in this one. Could the U.S. repeat as champions? They're certainly the favorites. Could France win it after the men won it in Russia, right? So there's like a lot of good storylines there. A lot of NWSL players will be playing there. I think U.S. is clear favorite. They may not want to hear that, you know, with the pressure and all that. Somebody could beat them for sure, but they're still the clear favorites. They have the most experience, the most talent, the most depth, and they are favored to win it.
I'm going to pick his brain a little bit, but I'm going to send it back to you guys, and we're gonna hang out down here and see who gets picked next.
Little
Thanks,
jealous
JP.
you get to pick his brain down there, Jordan. Great to hear from JP Delacamera as we head into the second round of the 2019 NWSL Draft. Sky Blue is on the clock. And what's interesting is when we talked to Denise Reddy on the phone, she said when they head into the second round, they might be looking for some local talent. It'll be interesting to see if she decides to go with that now or maybe later on in the draft, given that there's still really good players available. In your opinion, who's the best still left on the board?
I would go with, you know, your best available talent. I think you can use those third and fourth round picks for your local players.
Let's see who that is.
Picks 1 through 5 in round 2 is current NWSL player and president of NWSL Player Association, Yael Averbuch.
Thanks, guys. With the first pick in the second round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, Sky Blue FC select Paige Monaghan from Butler University. Sky Blue FC, you are now on the clock.
Paige Monaghan from Butler. She's a New Jersey native. She's from Roxbury, New Jersey. So Reddy decided to go with a little more local talent, but she had a really great year at Butler. She finished with 6 goals, 3 assists. Very exciting to watch in that Big East play because she has a lot of speed up top. It'll be interesting to see how she incorporates into the team, and this is a little higher than people expected her to go. She was maybe talked about more so end of second round, early third round, but she's a very talented player. Let's hear from Paige.
Wow, okay, I had this great speech in my head and I'm completely blank, so sorry about that. My heart's racing a mile a minute right now. This has always been a dream. First, I wanted to thank the NWSL and the United Soccer Coaches Convention for letting me be a part of this. Thank you to Coach Reddy and Sky Blue FC for taking a chance on me and choosing me. I'm so excited and ready for this journey. I also wanted to take the time to thank my coaches, Terry St. John and Rob Allman, who are here today, as well as Rob Clotty and Mike Howell, and Butler University, for instilling the Butler way in me and teaching me how to be the player and person I am today. Thank you to all my teammates and coaches as well along the way, and even teammates sitting here that I've got the opportunity to play with. Thank you so much. Thank you to my family at home and friends at home watching, and thank you to my family here. I'm going home. Thank you.
Another Jersey girl headed home for Sky Blue. They do like that Jersey talent. Jen, why is Denise Reddy always apt to take New Jersey talent?
Well, we've seen across the league that when there's really competition for roster spots, if you have local players that already have a support system, a community, a family network, it makes it easier for them to get through that struggle of the first season or two. You know, that there's just more people around them. Hey, and you have the added bonus of more family and friends that will come out to see the game. And I'm really excited for Paige Monaghan because Butler University, they've never had a player drafted in this league. It's not a program that you think of as, oh, you know, top soccer program. So that's great for this program.
It's exciting to see that for Butler to happen for Paige Monaghan, and we'll check in with her momentarily as we head things down to Jordan and Paige.
I've got Paige Monaghan here, and Paige, I just snuck over here, talked to your new coach, Denise Reddy, and I said, give me some descriptors of her. She said she's a great human, and she is a hard worker. Does that make you feel good knowing your coach thinks that about you?
Yeah, 2 characteristics to be known as. I mean, I don't think it could get any better, so that's very kind of her to say.
And you make this jump from college into the pros, but you've played against these pro teams before. You're a part of the U20 group who played in Portland for preseason last year. What's the difference in stepping up into this pro level?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm going to have to ask coaches and players in the league and be like, what advice do you have for me? I've learned to use my resources throughout the years, which I'll have to do in order to be successful, which I hope I can provide for the team.
There's your first pick in the second round, Paige Monaghan. She's going home, as she said. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Marisa?
Thanks so much, Jordan. Great to hear from Paige. And I had the opportunity to talk with one of her college head coaches, and the thing she said about her was her pace, her fitness is off the charts. She led her team in most meters ran at a full sprint with 1,200. The next closest person just ran 600 meters at a full sprint. She is unbelievable. Unbelievable in terms of her pace. She's great getting 1v1. When somebody has that level of fitness that Paige Monahan has, how much of an asset is it for her when transitioning into the professional league?
Oh, it's massive, especially with an athletic league like the NWSL, and that is an X factor for a lot of these teams. I mean, some of the question marks with some of the center mids like DiBiase was whether athletically she'll be able to keep up in this league. But when you have a Paige who's known for her pace, her engine, that already separates her, allows her some time to build into the league and evolve as a player, because the athleticism will allow her to get on the field more immediately if she didn't have that.
And Jen, we heard her talk about how she likes to use her resources. What does that speak to in terms of her character, her mentality?
Well, she'll do whatever she can to make her club succeed. She's also had to go through a position change in college, so that's an experience that happens to a lot of players from college to pro. So since she's already had to deal with that, I think that gives her an extra edge. That versatility that she brings is phenomenal.
Right, she can break in any sort of position, and that's a trend we've been seeing throughout today is versatility is your friend when you're trying to get into NWSL, being able to play more than one role. And the podium is ready for the next pick. It's going back to Sky Blue.
With the second pick in the second round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, Sky Blue FC select Julie James from Baylor University. Houston Dash, you are now on the clock.
Midfielder, defender Julie James out of Baylor. She had 20 goals, 13 assists at Baylor, had a great start to her college career, and she also became a really good facilitator as she progressed. So she was able to see the field a little bit more as she got more in tune with the collegiate game. A good leader on the field for Butler. What do you make of this pick right here?
Well, I think this is actually a unique pick, and it allowed Julie James is a player that can sit in behind or in front of that back line, shore things up. She's great in the air. She's dangerous on set pieces. But what it does for me is it allows Sarah Killian, it allows Rocky Rodriguez to be able to roam a bit more, get forward. It just allows other players to express their talents more than they did or were able to in the 2018 season.
Yeah, solid defensive midfielder, and once again, here's a program that has never had a player drafted in NWSL. And it's worth noting that her coach, Paul Jobson, who also has sometimes help from his wife, Marcy Miller, he coached in WSA, she played in WSA, she played for the U.S. national team. To have someone coaching you like that, that's going to help.
Sky Blue is done picking until the third round, and we've seen some of the picks they've had already. They've had several in the first round, a couple in the second round now. How do you see this start to take shape in terms of what they can then produce heading into this 2019 season with these new players?
It's going to be such a question mark for us. Again, the issues that Sky Blue has had over the last season, we can't pretend that hasn't happened. We know that's a challenge for a lot of these players. But I think if Denise Reddy can get these players in for preseason, really do something with this core, take your returning players like Carly Lloyd, Savannah McCaskill, Sarah Killian, Kaylin Sheridan, build something new, give them some hope and energy, they could really do something with this team.
It'll be interesting to see how that goes. Jordan has more on this pick down on the floor.
So I don't know if this is good or bad, but Sky Blue has a table right behind me, you guys. So I get to get into their ear a little bit more. And I went over there after they picked this last pick here, and I said, she's got a little grit, doesn't she? And Denise Reddy looked at me, and she had this grin about her. She said she has everything, and there's nuances to her game that they really like. She can take free kicks. And they said, quote, she might be the best header of the ball that has ever played the collegiate game. And I took a little bit of offense to that, Lori, but besides that, I mean, those are the kind of things that you like to bring into this Sky Blue team. It's going to give them that extra oomph.
Header in the game?
That is high praise. I mean, best header in the game. And that also just gives you another opportunity on set pieces to bring somebody forward, knowing that they're good in the air. It gives you another scoring chance to look for it and make you think a little more creatively when you have those dead balls and corner kicks to play to somebody who you know has a good aerial presence. But on the clock, it's Houston Dash, only 8 seconds left. This is their first pick. Jen, I have to defer from you. What do you hope to see with this pick from Houston?
I think at this point, they're going to have to take the best player available, so it's a question of who do they think that is?
The clock has run out. We're going to check in with that and see where they're going with this pick, 12th overall.
With the third pick in the second round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the Houston Dash select Ali Prissa from the University of Southern California. Houston Dash, you are now on the clock.
Ali Prissa, a defender from USC, heading down to Houston. She helped the Trojans earn 15 shutouts this past season. That is the second most in program history. She was really at the helm of keeping that defensive unit really solid, really core. And she's one of only 3 players in program history to start every single game since her freshman year. A lot of fortitude from Ali. Let's hear from her now.
Hi, everybody. First and foremost, I just want to thank God for this opportunity. I want to thank my parents, my mom, my dad, and my 2 sisters for all their love and support over the years. I want to thank my club coaches from Legends and SoCal Blues, even Arsenal. And then I want to thank all my college coaches, Jen, Sammy, Jason, Kadani. You guys have helped me so much, and thank you just for believing in me. I want to thank all my girls at SC. I love all you guys, and I wouldn't be here without any of you. And I just want to thank the NWSL and Houston for drafting me. H-Town.
H-Town. Heading to H-Town is defender Ali Prissa out of USC. She is a confident, commanding leader on the field. And what's so interesting about her is that she worked relentlessly her senior year of high school, training every single day. They called her Everyday Ali because she wanted to start her freshman year. And she made it her goal and her ambition. When she got to USC, she was going to be on that starting 11. What does that speak to in terms of her perseverance?
Well, everyday Ali, I love that. And I think that's the mentality you need, or I know that's the mentality you need when you come into this league, especially to make that jump as a rookie player. But this isn't much of a surprise either, because we know James Clarkson wanted to shore up the defense and get somebody that could play immediately in that center back position.
She's down on the floor with Jordan Angeli. Jordan?
So Ali Prissa is one of those players that could play immediately, right, in the center back position. She's so excited to be here. I just went over and talked to your coaches, and they said, we picked her because she's a winner. Does that make you feel good going into a club that believes in you like that?
It does. I'm glad that they believe in me. I'm so thankful that they chose me.
And for you had a lot of people to thank, and you really grew over your career at USC. What do you think is one of the best qualities that you possess as a player?
Qualities. I mean them saying I'm a winner, I'm a competitor. So I think those are the 2 top ones.
And we saw a little bit, but I think we need to get, as we salute out of here, a little H-Town from you.
Oh, yeah. H-Town, baby.
Congratulations, Ali. Enjoy the rest of your day. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Jordan, so much. Houston Dash is still on the clock. Jen, I know you're dying to talk about the Houston Dash. What do you think with this pick?
I love this pick, and I'm sure the Dash are thrilled to see that Prissa was still available at this pick. And it reunites her with her teammate from the 2016 championship for USC, Sammy Jo Prudhomme. So, again, you're reuniting teammates. That always helps out a rookie.
Is that always on the radar of a head coach knowing, hey, I have someone on this roster she's already played with?
I don't know if the coach thinks of it that way, but I would think any aggressive teammate is going, hey coach, my teammate that won the championship with me, she's in the draft. Did you see? That's how I think it happens.
It always helps to have somebody on your side. We're going to see who Houston takes with the next pick as we head back to the podium.
With the 4th pick in the second round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the Houston Dash select Cece Kaiser from the University of Mississippi. North Carolina Courage, you are now on the clock.
Lots of cheers for Cece Kaiser out of Mississippi, the midfielder. She set a new She set a new goal scoring record at Ole Miss this past year as her career, 48 career goals for CC Kaiser. It was a name that popped up here and there when we talked to different coaches, but obviously a crowd favorite. We heard some cheers coming from this crowd. I'm not sure if that was her family members or not, but it's great to see her get into this league because she's somebody that can play really well in between the lines and run inside defensive channels, something that's really positive when coaches are looking at her.
And she knows how to score, and I think that is a massive pickup for Houston because it's going to be interesting. How can she play off of Daly Huerta?
First and foremost, I want to thank God for this incredible opportunity. I give him all the glory. I want to thank my family. They're crazy, and I'm so grateful that you all get to be here today. To my mom and dad, thank you so much for all your support. To Lori Krieger, thank you for always encouraging me. I want to thank Ole Miss. It's an incredible university. I'm so grateful I got to go there. To Matt Mott and Richard Beebe, who are somewhere in here, thank you for always supporting me. To all of my club coaches, Vladko, Hugh Williams, Chris Duke, thank you for everything. Thank you to the NWSL and for Houston for this incredible opportunity. I'm super excited to get out there and do my thing. Thank you.
I'm sure Clarkson can't wait to see her do her thing out on the field. Now, she is somebody that wasn't expected to be the prolific goal scorer she turned out to be, and she really exceeded expectations in that regard. Jen, what expectations do you think they have for Kaiser heading into 2019?
Well, again, this isn't a player that I think they thought would be available. I didn't think Kaiser would last past the first round, but she was a game changer for Mississippi, took that program to new heights. So to have that in the midfield, especially when they know they're going to have a lot of World Cup absences, it's critical for Houston.
And a player that can dribble at back lines, create for herself, but also create for others, I think that is going to be a great pickup in terms of the combining with Daly, combining with Huerta, and taking off some of the pressure of goal scoring for them.
Let's head back down to the draft room floor where Taylor Angeli is with CC Kaiser.
So, Cece, I saw a big hug over here. Who you hugging, and who's your cheering squad in the corner?
It's just my whole family, basically. They all made the drive up to Chicago. We're only 8 hours away, so they all wanted to be here for this day. It's kind of once in a lifetime, so they weren't going to miss it for the world.
And you know what you didn't miss a lot lately is the goal. You scored a lot of goals at Ole Miss, and you go to another southern place in Houston, maybe a little bit used to that humidity that you're going to face down there.
Yeah, for sure. The humidity, not something you can really get used to, but I guess I've experienced it before, so definitely excited to get down to Houston. I know Haley Hansen from there. She's from Kansas City as well, so I'm really excited to be on the same team with her.
Well, we're excited for you to score goals for the Houston Dash this year. Congratulations. Enjoy your day. Celebrate with your family, and we're going to send it back up to you guys.
Yeah, she's got to get used to that Houston humidity for sure. But North Carolina is back on the clock. They most recently picked at the number 9 spot in the first round. Now, something that their head coach really stressed was maturity in their young players. Lori, what is the best way a young player can show their maturity when they join a team?
Well, come in and just want to learn, be the best teammate they can be, and then also the willingness to just put in the time, show up every day, be as consistent as they can be, and then know that it might not happen right away, but listen, learn from teammates, and then build on that.
And Jen, over the years, have you seen patience pay off for these players to take a step back and take a different role than what they were expected to experience in their NWSL career?
The players that can have that patience and, more importantly, maturity, I think there is a payoff, and especially going into this season where, boom, the league has just created 54 new spots, and there's only 36 people being picked today, and you know that the stars of your team, even if you get signed to a team and say you don't make the starting 11 or even 18 to start off, you know a lot of the big names are heading off to the Women's World Cup. You know there's a window for you to make an impact, make a statement, earn starting minutes moving forward.
We can't stress that enough that this is a World Cup summer and there's opportunities to be had. If you don't make that roster after the World Cup, if you get released at the end of the season, at least you have that tape, at least you have that game time experience that is invaluable to get. You can't get those game minutes anywhere else, and you could possibly move throughout the league, move to another league, but having that opportunity with World Cup is invaluable, especially this summer, and in addition to the roster additions.
And having the supplemental players, that here are the practice players that historically have been called up when there's national team replacements that have to happen, but having them be with your team full-time and being paid at the league minimum salary means that that integration is almost seamless when they get called up.
Let's head back over to the podium with North Carolina's pick.
Here to announce picks 6 through 9 in round 2 is Chief Legal Officer of U.S. Soccer Federation, Lydia Walkie.
With the 5th pick in the second round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the North Carolina Courage select Lauren Millay from Colorado College. Chicago Red Stars, you are now on the clock.
Lauren Millay heading down to North Carolina out of Colorado College in the second round pick, 14th overall for North Carolina. What do you think of this pickup?
I think this is a good pickup for them. I mean, one of the areas that he talked about is being thin during the World Cup in the midfield. And Millay adds creativity, a style of play that he wants to attack, ability to play in behind those front runners. And one thing that has separated her is her work ethic.
Down a little bit. Hi, thank you so much to the NC Courage for drafting me. I want to thank my family. Unfortunately, they're not here today. Also, my coaches at Colorado College, Jeff, Robin, and Rachel. And also my club coaches for, encouraging me to get to this position. This is a lifelong dream come true, so thank you so much.
Great to hear from Lauren Millay. Lori? Forward midfielder, defender, someone who's versatile, but she's also coming from a smaller program. So when you come from a smaller program like a Colorado College and you're going to a team that just had this historic year in North Carolina, what can she do to make an impact for herself?
Well, I would think just being picked, and even the second round by a team like that, by Paul Riley, has to be a huge confidence boost.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you have a player coming in, and again, she's a player that could be a substitute, but her ability to come off the bench is going to be massive in this environment.
Let's hear what she has to say. She's down with our very own Jordan Angeli.
All right, Lauren Millay, you just got drafted. Your family wasn't here. What do you want to say to them really quick?
Hi guys, I'm literally so excited. My parents have been so instrumental, and my sisters as well. I have 2 sisters, so they've been such a big part of this career for me. So I'm so excited. And
your coach, you told me you've watched a lot of North Carolina Courage games. Your coach just described you as very Sullivan-esque. You can run in from deep. What do you think some of the strengths of your game are?
I'm really very technical. Obviously, I'm not the biggest player in the world, so I've tried to hone my technical ability. I'd say I'm quick. I definitely look for the balls in behind, running in behind, finding little gaps, little things to worm my way into. So yeah, I'd say that's like pretty the basis of my.
I like that word, worm her way into it. She's super creative, and she's probably the talk of the town in Durango right now. So you enjoy the rest of your day, and congratulations.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Guys, back up to you.
Thanks. I'm sure Jordan's glad to see a Colorado native get off the board a little bit. And Lori, you were talking about her earlier. What's your overall consensus of North Carolina picking up Lauren Millay?
Well, being thin during the World Cup in the midfield, and this is why this is a good pickup for them. But also, one thing that has set her apart was her ability to keep herself in the play, which means she can paint the field. She has a big engine. That's something that Paul Riley likes, an active player, especially in the midfield, who can distribute, be creative, and she'll be able to link well up with a Pruitt who's up top, or some of the Jess McDonald, even Lynn Williams.
And it's important to note that Chicago Red Stars back on the clock. Rory Dames and his team milling over some information. There's also a T-Rex in the background, so I don't know how that plays into this draft. But it's interesting to see where he's going to go with this, because he added the #1 overall pick. Who is someone else at this point do you think can make an immediate contribution to this team? And we're hearing right now there will be an announcement from the podium.
Big news.
Chicago thinking things over.
The Chicago Red Stars have taken a timeout.
Well, one thing I want to say, Marisa, about Chicago is the trades that we saw yesterday when they were trading away their other first-round picks. You can see how they're looking towards the future. Rory Dames has a great history drafting and getting immediate impact out of players, but he's always also looking ahead. So with both of the trades yesterday, they got picks, they got Katie Johnson, but they also got picks for 2020 and pretty high picks for 2020. So he's hedging his bets against potential expansion where, you know, you can only protect so many national team players. So you have to be prepared to replace those players. And I think even with the picks right now, he's looking at that mix of, are they local or not? Can they play to immediate impact? But also, what is their value down the line? Because I think all of these teams have to be ready for expansion, whether it's next year or the year after, because that is going to break up some rosters. We haven't had expansion since Orlando 2016. No one's had to go through an expansion draft since then. It can be pretty rough.
And one of Rory Dames' players is down on the floor with Jordan Angeli. Jordan.
Not just one of his players, one of his star players, Sarah Gordon, is here. Sarah, you're from Chicago. You went to DePaul, and you've been in those seats right over there. What would you say is the best part about draft day?
I would say just the energy. Draft day is like the biggest day of soccer energy here, and for it to be in our city of Chicago is just amazing.
And as a draftee, we were just talking about this, you're underrated, which can be a good thing, right? And it takes a little bit to get from the college level into the professional ranks and to stay there for a while. What would be some tips you have for these players who are sitting here?
I would say the biggest thing is the mental game, the mental toughness, and that's the biggest transition. You got to be determined, and you got to be ready to work hard, and I think that has been the biggest learning lesson for me in the league.
You guys already have one new star to your team, Tierna Davidson. How excited are you to play with her this next season?
Honestly, so excited. I'm a defender myself, so just like looking at all the defenders we have on this team, it's going to be so solid. We're going to have an incredible back line for sure.
All right, well, I'm going to talk to Sarah a little bit more because I think we got some more information. I'm going to send it up to Marisa and you guys, but Sarah and I are going to talk Chicago things here. Yeah,
talking Chicago things. Chicago is on the clock. They called a timeout, but there could be a possible trade, so we're looking into that situation. As it's developing right now, nothing is finalized. However, they are on the clock, as I mentioned, right now with the 15th overall pick. Their last pick was back at number 1 with Tierna Davidson, so they've already added an incredible amount of talent. It'll be interesting to see what they do with this. Why do you think this timeout is occurring when it is?
There's got to be a trade happening, and of course we don't get to be down in the pit and see who's talking to whom, but I wouldn't be surprised. We've already seen Rory wheel and deal some picks, so if he can get something better out of this pick, he'll do it.
He seemed really open to that as we were talking to him heading into the draft, that he was open. Hey, I like my team as is. I don't need to add too many pieces, and that's something we all discussed as well when you look at Chicago. Hey, what do they really need? They got the number 1 overall pick. Somebody won it, but he was open to trading those picks, seeing what he could get in terms of somebody who has league experience. He really emphasized that need for him. We can see some discussions happening now. Lori, what team do you think wants to move up to this 15th pick?
Well, it looks like he's talking to Laura Harvey there, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's somewhat of a trade going on between those two, which is always exciting between these two teams.
And that envelope has been passed, so hopefully we'll figure out what's going on soon. It'll be interesting to see who Laura Harvey was thinking was worth it to give up in order to get somebody in this draft that she wanted to get with that 15th pick. As we continue this timeout on Chicago's end, 15th overall pick. But looking back at who was just picked earlier on, Paige Monahan started off with the 10th overall pick going to Sky Blue. Sky Blue also picked up Julie James, and then Houston Dash picked up Ali Prisak, Cece Kaiser, and then most recently Lauren Millay. So a lot of good talent coming out of the second round. Is there anyone in particular you think should be looked at next?
I would say there's still some players from the big name schools, maybe like a Betsy Brandon from Virginia, where maybe not a big name herself, but from such a respected program that has produced so many professionals in this league. Especially as you get to this point in the draft, you're looking at who has maybe the high level maturity, experience, professionalism to come in, even if they're not starting, but to just be a professional day in, day out and contribute to the team.
And talking more about Laura Harvey, we did see her having some discussions. She said she wanted that immediate player impact, but she only has a third-round pick. So it does make sense that she maybe would want to move up a little bit more as the camera slowly zooms in on Laura Harvey.
Rarely plays hardball at the draft. It's not where she tends to get the bulk of her talent. Only once has Laura Harvey ever had a top 5 pick.
We'll find out more details now as we head things over to the podium.
With the 6th pick in the second round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the Chicago Red Stars select Maria Sanchez from Santa Clara University. Houston Dash, you are now on the clock.
Okay, so during that timeout, we thought possible trade happening. Instead, Chicago goes with forward midfielder Maria Sanchez coming out of Santa Clara University. She's originally from American Falls, Idaho. She plays for the Mexican women's national team, and she transferred from Idaho State to Santa Clara because she wanted a bigger responsibility in terms of that. How much do you think that was excitable for Rory Dames to see somebody who wanted to challenge themselves at a top-tier program?
Definitely. I mean, he's talked about to us when we talked to him on the phone earlier in the week is that he wants to create a competitive environment around the core group he already has. And this is a left-footed winger, 16 assists, the most in Division I this season. So her ability to perform at the final third of the field is going to just add to this.
And it's important to note, you know, Mexican international, great experience, but Mexico is not in the Women's World Cup this summer, so she should not be gone for any games. And I've also heard that she can deliver an amazing cross, basically serve it up on a dime for you.
And what a great asset, too. And that's a great point that while she has that international experience, she won't be missed during that period of time when the Women's World Cup is going on in France. So they have somebody who has that international caliber of level of play, but they still get to use her. They don't lose her. Is she someone that you think can break into the starting 11 before that World Cup play, or is she going to really shine during that break?
I mean, that's a good question. I think that's the question amongst a lot of these players, right? Is how they show up. Are they fit when they come in? Are they ready to go? Are they ready to compete? It really comes down to mentality. I do believe she can, especially as a left-footed winger, could really make an impact. But again, it depends on how going forward Rory wants to play and utilize some of these players. But I think she could team up well with Sam Kerr up there at Vasconcelos. So there's some things that Rory can look at that will make this attack even more potent than it was last season.
We talked about her training. She loves to train. She's all about training, and she stays after. She's one of the first people there. How much does that remind you of a Rory Dames type player?
I mean, she totally fits, for me, his profile of those midfielders that can really create something. When you look back and see the midfielders he's drafted, Huerta, Colaprico, DiBernardo, I'm sure I'm missing several more, but the
Houston Dash's pick is in. Let's head back to the podium.
With the 7th pick in the second round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the Houston Dash select Betsy Brandon from the University of Virginia. Portland Thorns, you are now on the clock.
Betsy Brandon, midfielder out of Virginia. In her college career, she started 18 games this last season, 3 goals, 3 assists, and some would say a bit of an underrated midfielder in terms of her sense, but she's very calm on the ball, tough in the tackle. What do you like, Jen? I got to go to you because it's Houston. What do you like about this pickup with Betsy Brandon?
Well, and I just mentioned her just a few minutes ago. I think coming out of a program like that, that I think she'll be able to bring a level of professionalism and maturity to this squad. It's still a very young squad, and I think what really helped the team last season was that senior group of Amber Brooks, Kaylee Ohai, Rachel Daly, Sophia Huerta, but to have some young players coming in that are maybe a little bit more mature, that's really going to help them right off the bat.
And how does she maintain that calmness? Because it's exciting to see a young player enter a situation where you're playing against some of the top talent in the country, in the world. Knowing that she's a calm person, how can she maintain that part about her and not get rattled when she goes up against really tough opponents?
Well, I might be a little bit biased, but she's coming from the University of Virginia, so she's learned the composure, she's learned to be patient in there. But jokes aside, I do think that this is going to add to some competitiveness in the midfield, a tighter midfield, and I think she'll come in knowing playing at University of Virginia, the way they like to play, I think that calmness will come because it's going to be a similar style the way that James Clarkson wants to play as well, which is attacking, possession-oriented style.
That surely will help her transition into the NWSL. Let's check back down with Jordan Angeli on the draft floor.
All right, you guys have been talking about Women's World Cup a lot this draft, right? So I thought I'd bring two members of the French Federation into draft floor. I've got Brigitte Henriques and Laura Georges here, both members of the French Federation. Brigitte is the vice president, and I want to know, because I've heard you were so instrumental in bringing the World Cup to France. Why did you want the World Cup in France?
Because when I was former international player, when I came to the US to play against the national team, it was such a dream. The sport here is recognized for the women's and the women's soccer. So now in France, it's possible to welcome the World Cup, and here it's the dream.
And you keep looking up at the lights because this is quite a production, right? Laura, you both are international players for many, many years. And Laura, you made the transition from a player into the French Federation. First ever Secretary General, which is pretty cool. I want to know, how has this NWSL draft been? Have you been in awe of what's going on here?
We just arrived today, but I'm really excited. Usually I was watching the draft on TV, and during my period when I was in college, we didn't have this draft. So today I'm here, I'm watching, and we are really excited to be here and to promote the World Cup at this event.
Yes. World Cup is just months away. I'm trying to talk to them to see how I can get there and hang out with them as a part of the French Federation. They're both telling me I've got to come. It's going to be quite the spectacle. Is France going to be able to win with the women after winning with the men? Aha, put it on the spot.
It's a goal to get the trophies this year. It's going to be tough. We have the USA. If everything works well for France and the United States, they may play against each other in the quarterfinal. So it's going to be exciting, really exciting. We're working on it.
Yeah, I love it. Well, the World Cup is actually here. I'm disappointed you guys didn't bring it because I wanted to hoist it. Maybe my only chance to ever hoist the World Cup, you guys. But thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to go up to the table right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, Portland Thorns have now taken a timeout. Portland Thorns have taken a timeout.
Thanks, Jordan. Thanks, Jordan. And Jordan, if you do get to France, take me with you because I'd like to go. I think we'd all like to go. I mean, it's not fair if you just get to go on yourself, but we just heard that Portland Thorns, it's the first sighting of them in this 2019 NWSL draft, but they are taking a timeout. What's interesting is when we talked to Mark Parsons, he said this isn't the type of draft where they feel like they need to get a certain player. They have to get someone. It's more so looking ahead to building for the future. What do you think his aspirations are with this timeout right now?
Well, you know, someone could be reaching out to him saying, hey, we want that pick, or what about this player, or they're just taking their time. But when we talked to Mark last week, one of the things he said was that 2 of their draft picks from last year, who we didn't see play last year, are now healthy and back with the team. So I think he's always drafting towards the future. Historically, Portland has not built their squad much out of the draft. So I think you've got to be looking at a combination of best player available and who can fit the Portland mentality.
And when you talk about the Portland mentality, they also have a slew of talented players. Who do you think can play along those players who are, you know, world-class athletes?
I think he's got to be looking at an outside back or a center back. I mean, we have talked about the amount of talent he has up top and in those attacking players, and players that are creative, right? And they need some ball winners. They need some players that are just going to do the dirty work around them. So center back, outside back for me is the pick. And I think Jen is correct when it's like, is he just taking his time to figure out what player that is? Because there have been some unknowns here recently that have been picked that we didn't think would be either still available or have gone this early.
And of course, we want everybody to get involved on Twitter. We asked everybody to send in their tweets, their questions, their statements, their thoughts on what's going on throughout today with the hashtag NWSL Draft. And a tweet has come in from one of our viewers, and they said that Rory Dames is having a masterclass in this draft right now. Coming in from Miss Brooke Lynn, putting on a masterclass at this draft. Do you guys agree?
I'd say masterclass in terms of how to keep picks, trade picks, use your picks for the best value.
And I think what we're seeing is just his ability to plan for the future, but also just that he's a seasoned veteran in this draft because he knows what picks he wanted. He got the first pick and then has 4 first-round picks for next year as well. So yes, I would say it is a masterclass, especially having the first pick and then not having many picks and trading them away after that.
And I think he's only winning in that category because Vlatko Ananowski has no picks.
Right, he has no picks. What is he doing out there? Maybe he's getting pizza delivered.
No. Vlatko has all of his notebooks out with his pen. He's making notes about every player picked because he knows some of the people, aren't going to get signed with teams. He's ready.
Well, Seattle table's looking a little empty, though. I wonder where he's... that's just their PR director sitting right there. So she's kind of holding down the fort. I'm not sure where everybody else went. But as you said, Vlatko, he loves this stuff. We talked with him a little bit yesterday, and he just... You want to pick his brain every time you talk to him about where you see the best opportunities to grab people, not only in the draft, but throughout other opportunities throughout the league, players who have that league experience. But he doesn't have any draft picks. We don't know if he will try to go into it. But, oh, look who showed up. He's back at his table, but he's walking around a bit. We hear that there could be a possible trade going on during this timeout. Would you be shocked to see him get involved with this right here?
No, because I don't think it's always about the trades right now, and I think it's important to note for this draft in general, even the players that don't get drafted today have possibilities with these leagues. 54 new roster spots, up to 54, and only 36 people chosen today. We also know that being drafted means it guarantees you a spot in preseason. It doesn't guarantee you anything else. So all of these coaches have to be paying attention to who's going where, if they think that's going to be a good fit. What does it mean in terms of other players that might be jettisoned from those rosters because of that? So you have to be paying attention. So sure, it might look like he's walking away, but I would never think that Vlatko's not paying attention.
No, he's got his head on a swivel for sure. He's staying involved in this whole thing. And what's interesting too is what you were saying about players getting jettisoned by other teams, because when a season ends and a team didn't pick up your rights, you're free to be picked up by any team.
Ish.
In a sense.
Ish. Yeah, but now it looks like Portland is big. Oh, there's a handshake. That's always a good sign.
Looking like something is getting reviewed right now. As the clock ticks down under 10 seconds, we see some action coming out of this Portland table here at the draft. This is their first draft pick. We've seen them have the 17th overall pick in the second round. They took a timeout. They took some time to decide what they exactly wanted to do with this selection here. Mark Parsons, as you said, somebody who doesn't always build heavily out of the draft, so it would be super surprising to see him pick up a player who has some league experience, but we're being told there is an announcement coming soon.
The league has taken a timeout.
Ooh. So see, what that means is that there's probably an administrative issue. In 2017, we had a similar timeout when Dash were about to pick, and they were about to pick a Canadian player who was unannounced at the time was going to be a Federation player. And so the league was just making sure for Houston, it's like you realize if you pick this player that you are keeping this player. If you pick a Federation player, that they are basically locked into your roster. Now, of course, we don't have the allocations yet for U.S. or Canada for 2019. And I'm not saying that that's what this issue is, but there's generally some housekeeping administrative issues, or maybe there's a trade involved with that and they need to notify somebody. So that just makes it all the more intriguing.
It's very intriguing here. I mean, when we started the show, we said timeouts are a possibility. We've already seen several, and we've seen some trades as well with players to be named later. It could be a situation where we fall into that again. But with these timeouts, there was a team timeout and now a league timeout. How much time do they have during this league timeout?
I think it's just another 5, and it can't continue on. It's not meant to be just and now we extend it. So that should cut off at that end, and at that end 5 minutes, and then we'll see what happens. But that makes it all the more intriguing because we haven't seen Portland talk to anybody, so I don't think it's a trade, but we always have to make the blanket statement of with Mark Parsons, you never know.
Well, we are 16 picks into the 2019 NWSL College Draft. Here's a look at some of these reaction shots getting selected. I mean, the look on their face says it all, Lori.
Oh, and that's what's so great about draft day is the excitement for these players, working so hard, countless hours behind the scenes, doing their best to get drafted, and then when you hear your name called, it's so exciting. It is a dream come true, and just the enthusiasm that we're seeing as this league develops is so spectacular for these players.
Well, and as Leslie Gallimore in the opening remarks mentioned, you know, how far we've come from that 2013 draft. It was in a room that was only big enough for the team, so the media was separate. They were all waiting to hear, and of course there wasn't, you know, even an audio stream. So it's so great that there's the public enjoyment for the players.
For sure, and over 7 years, I mean, 7 years ago, these players have to be at least 18 years old. So 7 years ago, they were 10, maybe 11 years old, maybe a little older to be that young and see that there's something in the works here for me. There is a future for me in soccer.
Yeah.
As a youth player growing up, and you played on all different levels, amazing levels of soccer, when you were little, what would it have meant to you to see, and I'm sure you did, see that future, that there was something tangible there for you to strive to?
Well, when I was growing up, I'm dating myself, there wasn't a pro league, but at the same time there was the women's national team. So to look up to those players and to idolize them, it was something a goal to go after. And that's what we're seeing with these players now, especially as the league continues to develop and it is more exciting. And let me just say this, we have come a long way since the NWSL draft.
What was that draft like?
I think it was like me and a few other players.
And that was pre-Twitter.
Yeah.
So I remember just sitting at a website waiting for the webpage to be updated.
Hitting refresh all the time. And what's interesting too is talking to these coaches, there's a lot of similarities in what exactly they're looking for out of certain players. How much do you think that's going to start to shape how college teams start to train their athletes?
I think that's still at the very beginning of that trend starting to change, and I hope it starts to change, because it's really easy to say, well, college focuses on the athletic, you know, the league, it's a longer season and you need more skill, but I think it's a holistic change that I hope starts happening in how we train our youth players, because you can't wait till they're 18 and they get to college to start working on this stuff. I hope that the league's presence, I hope more people are watching the league and you're watching these players and you're taking some of that home with you for your training.
And before today's draft got started, we all got to pick some of the players we thought were the best of the best. We take a look at Lord Lindsey's best available players. Here's who you have left. You got Kira Caruso coming out of Georgetown and Kayla McCoy out of Duke. Do you still think Kira is ahead of Kayla in this situation, given all the other players that have gone and the teams left on the board to choose in the second round?
I think so, yeah. I would say that, and the fact that both of those players are goal scorers and can add to the team. And throughout this draft, we've seen teams picking up exactly what they need or the best players that they felt available. But we've seen more heavy defenders and midfielders go in this draft and not as many attacking players. So I think this is why we still see these two players on the board. But these are going to be steals for some teams as the draft continues to go on, because both of these players proven to be goal scorers and can help.
Well, we also had a discussion with several of the coaches heading into today's preparations, and you asked a really great question of some coaches of what position is easier to transition into NWSL play? Is it as a defender, as a forward? And your take is as an attacking player, it can be a little more difficult.
Well, when you think about the attacking players, those positions are usually solidified by international players, sophisticated players that understand the level of game, the pace of the game. And so for these young players coming out of college, I believe that it's easier to step in as a defender, because you can, you know, I'm sure I'm gonna take some crap for this, but it's easier to disrupt than it is to create, especially at this level. But then on the flip side is the argument is there's more available spots as an attacker because you sub those players more often. So if there's spots available in the back line or even as holding midfielders, I feel like the transition is easier to come in there, just the way that we're developing players now and the way that the college game has gone, which is a bit of a run and gun game. It's an attack, go at all costs, use your athleticism. And in the league, once you start matching up with more athletic players, it's really difficult for those attacking players to step in and compete against the same level of athleticism.
Not only the athleticism, but something else that was mentioned throughout our conversations with coaches was the decision making, the split seconds they have to see certain openings, see their teammates running and breaking seams. But Jen, you also sent in some of your top picks. We're going to take a look now at who's left on Jen Cooper's board. We have Emily Ogle, which many people thought would already have been taken by now. And then Caitlin Farrell out of Georgetown as well, who had an amazing year in the Big East. Where do you see these players ending up now that we're finishing off the second round?
Well, Farrell I kind of put out there as a wild card, so I'm not totally surprised that she's not taken yet, but I think she has to go pretty soon. And Maria Sanchez was my other wild card, so very excited to see Chicago pick her up. Emily Ogle is definitely a big surprise not already picked, but hey, maybe she's part of this long time out.
Whatever's going on right now. A lot of coaches had brought up Emily Ogle's name, and she's somebody coming out of Penn State who showed a lot of growth and a lot of versatility as well as a player. What's going through these draftees' minds, do you think, as they sit here and they have to pace again for another 5 minutes?
Well, nervousness, right? Nervousness and excitement. You're hoping that you're the next pick. You're hoping you're going to get drafted. But I think Jen makes a good point here. Just because you aren't drafted doesn't mean you can't get on a team.
Right.
And sometimes that's the best, because then you can talk to coaches, see which preseason you want to go into. And if you're not drafted, that gives you a little bit more wiggle room. But at the same time, yeah, you're just looking at these players who are nervous and excited and want to see their name on the board.
And I think it really speaks to the stability and longevity of the league that we have so many players here in attendance, because other than the 2017 draft where we were in California, so you had so much of the U23 national team there, just down the street, they could come see their picks. This represents travel for these players and their families, and so for them to make the trip really says, hey, this is a big deal, and I know I've got a shot at being drafted, and I want to celebrate that publicly.
And on top of that, as you mentioned earlier, Jen, this is the first time an NWSL draft has taken place in an NWSL city, with Chicago having the #1 overall pick. Their fans are here. It adds so much to the atmosphere, and to see the girls' dedication, the women's dedication to come here and respond. There's over 100 players and their families here in attendance, over 200 players declared for this draft, and they know there's only a few amount of spots to be picked, so a lot of hopeful people out here in the crowd. But it just speaks volumes as we circle back to how far this league, this draft has come in 7 years, that now you have over 100 people here in Chicago making the trip.
And so excited, and I'm sure this feels good for Lori too, even though you're no longer a player.
We have some news that we're going to check
later.
Yeah, right now we're going to check back in with the podium. Some news is breaking.
Get your pencils ready for this one. The Washington Spirit and Portland Thorns have agreed to a trade. The Portland Thorns have acquired the 31st pick in the 4th round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, and Washington's natural 2nd round pick in the 2020 NWSL College Draft. In exchange, the Washington Spirit have acquired the 8th pick in the 2nd round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft. With the 8th pick in the 2nd round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the Washington Spirit select Bailey Feist from Wake Forest University. Houston Dash, you are now on the clock.
So after all of that, forward midfielder out of Wake Forest University, Bailey Feist, is heading to Washington Spirit. Jen, you're shaking your head.
Well, it's just like, okay, let me get this straight as I write this down. Who's doing what? So, we should have been ready for Portland to say, yeah, we'll give this to someone else. And again, here's a team looking ahead to, I think I might get more value out of next year's draft.
And if you look at Feist, it's another midfielder, but I think she's more of a true number 10, plays in behind that back line. May not have the pace to really be able to play at the 9, 7, or 11 at this level, but to be able to slip in behind those attackers, a Rose Lavelle, if she's off to the World Cup, she can slip in there. Feist can seamlessly.
Are you surprised that Feist went ahead of some other midfielders that are still available?
We heard a few coaches mention her, and I don't know how much this matters. You might be able to speak to this, Lori, but it's like you're not too far away from your college community. I mean, it's like that Eastern Seaboard. It's like, so I would think that Washington have been able to watch her play a lot.
And I was thinking the same with a stop from Clemson. You're picking players that are somewhat local to you on the Eastern Seaboard that can come and make that transition easier than going all the way to the West Coast.
And Houston Dash is on the clock. They have the last pick in the 2nd round, number 18 overall. We've seen Houston take a couple different people. We had Betsy Brandon at the 16th pick, Cece Kaiser 13th, Allie Prissock at the 12th pick overall. So this is their final pick in the second round, the final pick in the second round altogether as we head into the third round where they have several picks as well. But what needs do they still need to fill in Houston?
Well, I could see them taking Emily Ogle. I mean, she can play up top or deep at mid. They might still go for defense, defensive player where, that's been an ongoing struggle for Houston. I think only Sky Blue gave up more goals than Houston last year. So it's that challenge of best available player or this specific need.
And James Clarkson is inheriting a team from last year, but now he's starting to build his own type of player. How do you mesh those different classes of players, where the people who have been there and also the people he specifically hand chose?
I think it's just a matter of building a team, getting everybody on the same page, getting people excited about how you want to build the culture and how you want to play. And I think, though, if you are James Clarkson, you got to go with a defender at this point in time. I think if you bring in an Ogle, it's just redundant with Julie James in there. So go with a defender, see if you can solidify that back line, create some more depth there, and prevent the amount of goals that you let in.
We'll find out right now as we head back to the podium.
With the 9th pick in the second round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the Houston Dash select Kayla McCoy of Duke University. This concludes the second round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft.
Forward Kayla McCoy out of Duke is heading to Houston. She led Duke with 12 goals, 61 shots, and 36 attempts on goal. She also led them with 8 assists. She was an All-American. She was on Washington's reserves, and she was a team captain at Duke, so it speaks a lot to her character, how her teammates perceive her as a leader, but also somebody that they can confide in as well. She has huge offensive prowess on top of everything else, and a dedicated leader. She produces on the field. We'll hear from Kayla McCoy right now.
Wow, I'm absolutely thrilled to be here today. First and foremost, I just want to thank God for this blessing of being here in this incredible event. I want to thank my family and my friends who have been there since the very beginning. I want to thank my coaches and my teammates at Duke University. I wouldn't be here without them today. I want to thank the Houston Dash for giving me a chance. I'm very excited to join the program and start working. And I want to thank the NWSL for putting on this incredible event. Thank you so much.
Kayla McCoy coming out of Duke. Lori, what do you see as her strengths?
Well, if they're not going to pick a defender, top 10. So I'm happy with this pick. And one thing when I was talking to some ACC coaches about her was her ability to be able to score goals. She had a knack for scoring goals, just a Veronica Latsko-esque type player. Maybe doesn't work as hard off the ball as Veronica does, but her ability to score goals and her ability off the ball as well is going to separate her on this Houston Dash team.
Well, and such a strong program historically, perennial contender in the NCAA tournament. And we have to mention Carla Overbeck as longtime assistant coach at Duke. When you've got a mentor like that's got to help.
What an amazing mentor to have. We hear all these women have great mentors coming in from tenured players, and Kayla McCoy is down on the floor with Jordan Angeli.
Marisa, are you saying that she looks up to me? Is that what you're saying there? Well, we haven't got that far yet, but Kayla McCoy is just talking to me a little bit about sitting over there in the draft room. And this is an only exciting day for you. Your family's here, but an exciting day to watch some of your teammates, too, get drafted.
Definitely. I mean, there's people that I've played against for years who are getting drafted, and it's so exciting to see everybody's, who have had this dream since they were so young, to see it come to fruition, and you can see it on their faces. They're so happy to be here, and I was absolutely thrilled to get picked, and I'm so excited to start at Houston.
And you just got to meet your new coach, and you are a goal scorer through and through. I've seen you sacrifice your body to score some goals. What characteristics would you describe yourself as a forward?
I would definitely say I'm most effective back to goal, kind of backing up and posting up on defenders and getting kind of down and dirty and just being able to finish the ball in the back of the net. That's what I pride myself in, and so, yeah.
Yeah, 38 goals in your collegiate career can have you can have pride in that, girl. Enjoy the rest of your day, and yeah, soak it all in.
Thank you so much.
Great interview with Kayla, right?
Thanks, Jordan. And what's also important to note with Kayla is that when she played alongside Imani Dorsey, they both had 14 goals in 2017. She's really good with other talented forwards. But here is how the draft has panned out so far. This is a look at the first round, 1 through 9. Tierna Davidson getting selected first overall. We said there was a couple teams that won that first round, but here's how the second round played out. Picks 10 through 18. Who won the second round?
Well, I'm biased.
We know that, Jen.
Yeah, so I'll say the Dash, but still, I like all the single picks. I mean, you look at Maria Sanchez for Chicago. That is a great pickup.
There's a lot of talent taken in this second round, as well as in rounds as years past. Let's take a look at some of the best second round talent.
Rachel Hill gives Orlando the lead. Ratcliffe with a ridiculous goal in the 94th. Pretty darn good defense, and Alyssa Nair certainly recognizes the effort from Katie Naughton.
Oyster closes extremely well. A lot of space in front of her. Sinclair with the shot, and it's punched over. Timrock takes the shot and hits the corner.
We're checking back in here in the draft room, the 2019 NWSL drafters. We're being joined now. We give hugs out to Yael Averbush from Seattle Reign. Thank you so much for being here with us, Yael. We're so excited you're here. You announced a couple picks earlier. Your team doesn't have any picks in this draft, but you see a lot of talent being selected into the league. Who excites you the most as you head into this season?
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, I think we were all, as a league, very excited to see Tierna Davidson included in this draft. Personally, I'm a huge fan of hers. So I think that's going to be really exciting. And, you know, just watching kind of the College Cup tournament, I think there's so much quality and young players coming in who will add a new dimension to the league. So I'm really excited to watch.
And shifting gears a bit, you are the president of the Players Association, helped launch that this offseason. Can you talk a little bit about that and what the importance of that for the players and the league moving forward?
Yeah, so, you know, as non-national team players, it's really important that we have our own voice. Just to kind of break it down really simply, the United States Women's National Team allocated players are actually employed by U.S. Soccer, and the rest of us sign standard player agreements with NWSL. So for us, we have our own representation now as NWSL employees, and really our main goal and our mission, and we stated it over and over again, is to work collaboratively with the league. We all agree that this league, while it's doing wonderfully and we're about to enter the 8th season, it has a long way to go. And I think all the way from the top, in the front office to the ownership groups, the staff of the teams, the players, and then the fans and supporters, we are part of that picture, and we think it's important that we, you know, do our fair share to continue the progress of the league, and also look out for, you know, our group of players and make sure everyone's having a quality experience.
It's so important to make those strides going forward and to give every player a voice. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, guys.
We've seen 18 new players enter this, get selected through this draft. That means 18 new rookies heading into this season. But let's take a look at 2018's Rookie of the Year, Imani Dorsey.
With the 5th pick in the first round of the 2018 NWSL College Draft, Sky Blue select Imani Dorsey from Duke University.
This is a surreal experience for me. To be here right now and to have them call my name was incredible. It was really exciting.
Dorsey finishes off an outstanding move for Sky Blue.
Imani Dorsey off of Eckerstrom and in.
Groom collects, crosses, Dorsey!
Imani Dorsey takes advantage of a lapse in the Houston defense to score her 4th goal of the season.
Ooh, Rookie of the Year.
Made such an impact in this league.
I know. Well, I have to give a big shout out to Imani Dorsey last year getting Rookie of the Year. She didn't even earn a full contract with Sky Blue till like late May, early June. So props to her.
We're going to get started with the 3rd round right now.
NWSL College Draft will now begin. Sky Blue FC, you are now on the clock.
So, Jen, we are halfway through the 2019 NWSL College Draft. Sky Blue has already had a plethora of picks. When they go into the 3rd round right now, what are your expectations for this team?
This is the hardest part of the draft, I think, that we're getting into, where the biggest players have gone. Now, most of the teams that have picked have solved their needs. We still have a few teams that haven't picked.
Right.
You know, so it's much harder to read who's going to be taken. I think it was pretty easy for us to guess on the 1st round, but at this point, anything can happen.
There was a lot of talk, too, when we talked to so many coaches of there's such a distinction between players maybe 1 through 9 and then 10 through 15, and then they chunked it up into different sections. Do you find that every year there's always that distinctive marks between levels of talent in the draft?
I don't think you can say exact levels of talent, because I think the unknown is, will this player be able to contribute at a professional level? Sure, they may have been a star at the college level and produced a lot of stats, but that doesn't always translate to the pro league. When the pro league it's a much longer season, it's a much harder grind. So some people can make the, adapt to it. Some people can't.
And that's something, too, coaches always talked about, was the physicality of this league over the years. How have you seen that make players adapt their style of play personally?
Well, I think fitness really comes into it. When the college game, even if you make it all the way to the NCAA College Cup, you're playing from mid-August to early December. That's not a long season. And you've also had probably 2 games a weekend for several weekends. So the pro game, you're looking at, preseason starts March 4th. You could go all the way into late October. That's a long season with a lot more travel. You don't have the, you can sub once per half option. Only 3 people are getting subs, and they're not even guaranteed to come out very early. So the fitness level and the physicality really have to be part of your game.
And if you at home are wondering where Lori Lindsey went, we didn't kick her off. She's actually going to be making some selections during this 3rd round, so it's great to have her involved with the draft as well. And here's Lori. Let's check in with her now.
Ladies and gentlemen, here to announce picks 1 through 4 in round 3 is former U.S. Women's National Team member and NWSL player, Lori Lindsey.
Oh, thank you. This is a little bit more, please. Shake it. With the 1st pick in the 3rd round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, Sky Blue FC select Kyra Carusa from Georgetown University. Chicago Red Stars, you are now on the clock.
Kyra Carusa out of Georgetown. She's someone who actually transferred to Georgetown, and she made such an impact there, too. She was a super senior there at Georgetown. She had a lot of great play in Big East, and she has incredible speed up top. Do you like this selection for Sky Blue?
Definitely like this selection. A determined player like this, and obviously this was someone on Lori Lindsey's top 10 list. And hey, I almost thought Lori Lindsey was going to be the pick there. I thought that's why she was going up to the stage to be one of the picks. But back to Caruso, what I think is really interesting is she had a really solid career at Stanford. She transferred to Georgetown as a grad student. So this was a 1 year. So I like you calling her super senior.
Super senior.
to be playing at that level while you're a grad student, I think that's really impressive because grad students know no easy day either.
But she also has a ton of experience that she brought to
Yes.
that Georgetown team,
Yes.
and she also upped their level of play a little bit too. In the Big East, they won the Big East championship again.
Yes.
She was paired alongside Caitlin Farrell, who's also in the draft.
Yes.
And she has a lot of upside, but this is also somebody that was on both your big boards as somebody to keep an eye on. Do you think it might be a little premature, but do you think this could be the steal of the third round to get Kira Caruso in the third round?
I would agree with that.
Because it was somebody that people were very high on. There were several coaches who her name came up during their conversations, and it's somebody too that, you know, she has a lot of upside. She has that experience. She has the experience leading a team as well. But her pace is incredible. She's able to cut so well into the field. She can find seams, find her teammates running in between defensive lines too. So she has great vision of the field too. And when you talk about adapting to NWSL, the pace of play really changes from the college game.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's important too. And over what you've seen as this league progress, and especially a Denise Reddy team, is she that prototypical player she likes to go for?
That's hard to tell. It's still, I mean, this is only the second draft for Reddy, but I'm really intrigued to see what happens next with Chicago. Next pick, they've already had two really fascinating picks.
We'll find out now.
With the second pick in the third round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the Chicago Red Stars select Bianca St. George's from West Virginia University. Houston Dash, you are now on the clock.
Defender Bianca St. George is out of West Virginia. She's originally from Quebec. She was Big 12 Defender of the Year and All-American, and she helped lead the team to 12 shutouts this season and snatch the Big 12 championship. When I was researching about her, the word lockdown defender came up. How important is this to add to Chicago's arsenal of players, especially because they're going to be losing some, especially to the World Cup?
Right. You look at the defenders Chicago has, but Davidson, Short, Nair, Ertz, out for the World Cup, all of them most likely, that you want to have that defender that can cover while they're gone. So she's an incredible addition to that.
And not only is she that lockdown defender that she described as during college, but she gets involved. As we can see, she scores goals. She had 7 this year, and it's such a trend too, seeing these defenders who can get up the field. It seems like that is a trend that's progressing throughout professional soccer, is getting your outside backs forward and getting them involved, and also getting your center backs forward as well and getting them involved in the attack. Do you see that trend continuing?
Yeah, we see that in the pro game and also in the international game. And speaking of international, she's a Canadian international, but my sources are telling me that she has an American parent, so she's applying for dual citizenship. I'm not exactly sure why she wouldn't have that already, but her mother was born in New York.
Okay.
So if she can get that paperwork through, she does not require an international spot, and that's huge for any club.
That is huge because there's only a limited amount of players you can take with that, and Chicago already has so much talent, and they're kind of teetering near those international slots. But if we won't know for sure if she does take that international spot.
Right. And right now, teams can bring as many players they want internationally into preseason. It just means on the final day, the final roster day, there can only be 4 international players on your roster unless you've traded for additional slots.
And for someone like Bianca, who's looking to make a really tough roster to begin with, in order to get that dual citizenship would pretty much help her really be a little more desirable when making that final roster, because she doesn't hold on to any international spots with that. And also, as we continue, Houston's on the clock. We got about 50 seconds for Houston to make their pick in the third round. We've seen them make take Betsy Brandon back in that second round, and they've made some midfield decisions, some defensive moves as well. I always have to refer to you with the Houston stuff, but how do you think this team is shaping up now in Clarkson's first draft class?
Well, let me say, if this wasn't Houston, I would think this would be a keeper. But since it's Houston, they've got 3, it's probably not a keeper.
With the third pick in the third round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, Houston Dash select Jasmine Jackman from University of Oregon. Houston Dash, you are now on the clock.
Well, did you say a defender?
I know, I just said not a goalkeeper.
Well, Jasmine Jackman is heading to Houston, the defender out of Oregon, originally from Sacramento. She transferred from Santa Clara after her sophomore year to go to Oregon, and she started all 19 matches of her senior year. She is here today. We heard a big roar from the crowd to hear her get selected. She has such a competitive mentality too, which is something I think was really appealing for a lot of coaches, knowing how competitive she is, knowing that she will fight for every ball. How do you think she's going to fit in?
You know, physical defender. She can play left or center. I think she fits a lot of Houston needs, and this is not a player I thought was going to be taken other than probably by Portland based on where she was regionally. But hey, playing in the Pac-12, you know she's played against the highest level competition.
This is so exciting, and now I can finally breathe. But first, I would like to thank God for his strength and guidance. I'd like to thank the NWSL for giving female athletes this opportunity to play professionally. I'd like to thank my family for all their love and support, my dad and brother who are with me today, as you could probably hear my dad. I'd also like to thank my University of Oregon family for welcoming me my sophomore year and pushing me to be the best player and person I can be on and off the field. And I'd like to thank the Houston Dash for believing in me and giving me this opportunity to pursue my dreams. Go Dash.
Oh, what a great shot here from Jasmine Jackson's dad. So emotional watching her daughter get selected in the NWSL draft, the defender, as we said, out of Oregon. And she is somebody that's also able to get in on the attack. She brings the ball up from the back, which, as we mentioned before, really proves to suit a player well when you transition to the professional game. And tactically speaking, she's a left-footed back, and that speaks wonders to coaches. Coaches want to grab all those left footers as fast as they can.
Yeah,
How do you feel about that?
left-footers out there, start advertising now that you're just incredibly valuable to the league.
And if you're not left-footed, just try to become left-footed. Jasmine is down on the floor with Jordan Angeli.
Guys, we're just talking about Jasmine's dad was a member of the San Francisco 49ers, but he didn't get drafted, so that's why you heard the big scream. Yeah. Excited for his daughter to get drafted, and Jasmine, for you. Is this a moment that you've been dreaming about for a long, long time?
Yes, this moment I've been dreaming about for a very long time. It's just so exciting and rewarding to kind of have everything fall into place, because this is what I've been working for since I was 5. So it's really exciting.
And you're a lefty. You help all these teams out with your left foot situation. You're going to Houston. A lot of draft picks here that have got selected today. You excited to start something new and for that next jump?
Yes, I'm definitely excited to start something new. I'm really excited to use my left foot and be versatile at the left back or left center back position. So I'm just really excited to head to Houston and be a part of something new and play at that next level.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. Go Dash. And look at the height on her, you guys. Woo! She's going to win a lot of head balls. Back to you, Marisa.
Thanks, Jordan. And here's a look at her dad again. So much emotion coming from her dad. Jordan mentioned he played for the San Francisco 49ers, wasn't drafted, so this must be such an emotional moment for him to know what it's like to want to be picked by a professional team and not getting that opportunity, but then seeing his daughter work her way from when, as she said, 5 years old to get to the point today where she's walking across that stage. What a beautiful moment for them to share.
And first player ever drafted into the league from the University of Oregon, so her whole program is probably really excited as well.
And probably some other tears around around the country right now as we head back to the podium with the next pick.
I'm back. With the 4th pick in the 3rd round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the Houston Dash select Grace Cutler from West Virginia University. Utah Royals FC, you are now on the clock.
Grace Cutler being selected out of West Virginia, going to the Houston Dash. If you take a look, she's a forward midfielder, somebody that can be dynamic as well. They said that they wanted to first address their defensive needs, but said that they could also use some bolstering up at that midfield. Will Grace be that person that can add some depth or at least some competitiveness for Houston?
Definitely depth and certainly competitiveness when you factor in that she was part of the squad that West Virginia took all the way to the 2016 NCAA final. So she knows what it's like to make it all the way.
When you've seen players who have that tournament experience, who have helped their teams get further in their respective conference tournaments, how much does that experience help them prepare for a situation like the NWSL?
Well, one, it means that they've had a longer season, that they've really had to stretch, all that way, that extra month of playing. So it'll be a little bit easier, I think, to adapt to a long NWSL season. But I think it also, going that far in the tournament where every game is, win or go home, to have that competitive fire, that competitive experience is crucial.
Especially in a league where in NWSL where every game matters. We've seen teams go on streaks and they completely change the trajectory of their respective season. So to have that mentality of knowing what it's like, it's do or die every single game, the NWSL, it's a similar feeling because you need to be able to be one of those top tier teams to extend your season into the postseason.
And when we look at what we know will be the Women's World Cup window, where a fair amount of internationals will be gone, that time is crucial in terms of winning the league. We look back at 2015 and Chicago Red Stars had the best performance in that period. And that ended up being the first season that they made the playoffs. So, even if you don't have a great season overall, if you can win that mini season in the middle of the NWSL season, you can really do well. So that's where a lot of these players could help out.
That's really interesting about Chicago, but Utah Royals are on the clock right now. Finally, we see some commotion happening over here. What are you expecting from Laura Harvey?
Well, we know that she tends not to build out of the draft. We know that she'd rather be with us somewhere hanging out, talking soccer, and not having to worry about drafting soccer. That said, she pays attention. She does work the draft in the way that she wants to.
And she's having a good time.
Yeah, if she's in that good of a mood, if Laura Harvey's in that good of a mood, she has made a pick that has made her very happy. She's had some good picks, Carson Pickett, Havana Solon. So I could see something good even when it's third round.
Yeah, this is her highest pick, so it's interesting to see who she wanted to snatch up with this pick, because we know the skill set teams look for changes when you head into that third round. You're more so looking for the character of the player as well as the tactical skills, but you want somebody will be strong mentally as well as physically.
And you look at this franchise, it's their second year. Laura, of course, having been in the league all the seasons, but she talked about how last year was a settling year, that they had to get used to, like, wow, we're in Utah and we have the stadium and we have these practice facilities and all of this is great. So now she feels like that they can really focus more. You see her going back to her original lineup and making changes, and signing Vera Boquete. It's like, wow, what a great signing. So she's looking at all the pieces. And Utah just announced this week that they're going to have a partner WPSL team. So any players that don't get signed to their first team will have an opportunity to play in that WPSL semi-pro season, which is huge.
And as you talked about Boquete, a huge addition for Utah as we head back to the podium with some news.
Here to announce picks 5 through 9 in round 3 is Pro League manager of Nike Soccer, Merritt Fawcett.
With the 5th pick in the 3rd round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the Utah Royals FC select Michelle Maimone from Pepperdine University. Chicago Red Stars, you are now on the clock.
Michelle Maimone, a forward midfielder defender, again a versatile player coming out of Pepperdine University. As we were speaking about before the draft pick was selected, they added Vera Boquete, and that changes the ability of this Utah roster. How does this draft selection make sense alongside of that acquisition in the offseason?
Well, the first thing I would say is that, fans are probably going, who? What? But that tells me that Laura Harvey has done her homework, and there is something special about this player, and that she had her eye on it. And she's probably thrilled that this player was not taken at this point, so that she could just say, yeah, that's my player. Unlike Katie Johnson 2 years ago, where she thought she was going to be able to get her under the radar, but no, Katie had a great NCAA tournament. She's able to grab her. And Pepperdine, again, we've seen some great players come out of Pepperdine, namely Lynn Williams. Brie Vazale, drafted by Chicago last year, didn't get a chance with the league, but has been kicking it at West Ham United. So we know there's strong players in that program.
And there's several players from Pepperdine in this draft as well, in addition to her. But going back to Laura Harvey and creating this Utah identity, which I think is really interesting because she has a tenured career in NWSL, but she also inherited a roster that was completely not her own. So how much of this second year is going to be about forgetting that, you know, you used to be Kansas City and now you're Utah, and now you can really concentrate on being your own type of organization?
Well, the beginning of last year was really strange because it seemed like Vlatko and Laura Harvey had done a team swap, but they both made so many changes during the season that I don't feel like she inherited Kansas City's roster the way that, say, Richie Burke has inherited, you know, Jim Cabarro's Spirit roster. So it's more about putting the final touches on a team that was so close to making the playoffs. They were in 5th place. It really came down to a couple of games for them.
Sky Blue is back on the clock right now. We can take a look at the 2018 final standings. You see Sky Blue all the way there at the bottom. Just 9 points, 1 win, 17 losses, 6 draws. Chicago, excuse me, is Chicago on the clock, excuse me. But taking a look at Sky Blue, as we said, they had a lot of growth to make, and Chicago kind of right there in the middle. Now, they turned their season around because they were plagued by injuries early on, but they were able to use that depth, which I think was something interesting Rory Dames talked about, too, was that they already tested the depth of this squad. So it was almost a preview to that World Cup break where they know they're going to have to look at the reserves a little bit more. And in essence, it was a positive to have to put those players through the ringer last year.
Right. So you have a player like Sarah Gordon, Michelle Vasconcelos, Lauren Caskey, you know, some of the younger ones that weren't necessarily starters, had to be starters, so that they got that experience. So that just rounds out your whole roster.
And this is their 4th pick today. How do you think they've done so far, being the host city, having all these picks?
Well, as host city, they've been great. You know, getting the first pick, Tiana Davidson, Maria Sanchez, I'm excited with what they've done. And of course, what we're not going to be able to see is with the picks that he picks up with the trades, like the 2020 picks, like what he's going to be able to get with that next year.
As we wait to see what is happening with Rory Dames, you can see him sitting there at his table on the draft room floor. They picked up a good amount of players, as we said. We talked about the first overall draft pick and such like that. But I'm sure he, too, enjoys the environment of being home and being able to have his crowd with him. I'm sure that's adding to the experience for him as well.
Yeah, you know that all your picks are going to be wildly cheered. Though I thought it was funny how he mentioned that it's easier when he's not at home because you just roll out of bed, take the elevator down to the draft, or he's like, here, I have to drive in from the suburbs.
I know, he was complaining about it. But it is true, you get to roll down. But this has been such a great venue and a great time to watch Chicago develop because they were just about there. They almost made it again to the finals.
Right,
and
right.
They need that extra little push, and perhaps with that
4 times in a row to the semifinal.
Twice in a row
they need
to
break
the same
that barrier.
team.
Assigning, you know, the whole three-way draft day trade last year where they acquired Sam Kerr. You know, such an impact for the team, Golden Boot winner, but you know, she was gone for qualifying. She'll be gone somewhat this year. You need as deep of a squad as possible.
And you talked about Sam Kerr, who they acquired last year, too, and pairing her up with Tiana Davidson, too, could create some magic up there. But taking a look at Portland, because there's some talks of some trades going on here. What do you make of this situation that's kind of conspiring as we go on and seeing Portland being involved at this point in the draft?
We definitely need some more trades happening because it was a really slow offseason for trades. I like that Laura Harvey said to us last week, I thought my phone was broken, no one was calling me. You know, she said, when I get to Chicago, I'm going to make sure every coach in NWSL has my phone number. You know, so we had a couple trades yesterday. We've had a few today, and we still have the player to be named later, but let's see what this one is.
All right, a trade has been approved between Portland Thorns and Chicago Red Stars. The Chicago Red Stars have acquired pick 31 and pick 35 of the 2019 NWSL College Draft. The Portland Thorns have acquired pick 6 of round 3. With the 6th pick in the 3rd round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the Portland Thorns select Emily Ogle from Penn State University. Orlando Pride, you are now on the clock.
Emily Ogle from Penn State finally getting off the board. As we said earlier, this was someone we thought could have gone a little earlier, but she is going to Portland. Could this be the steal of the third round, having Emily Ogle still available?
I'm sure Parsons was like, really? Really? She's available? Okay, I'm willing to trade for that, you know? I'm surprised she lasted this long, but we both thought she'd go much higher.
Yeah, and Mark Parsons did mention.
First off, I'd like to say thank you to Mark Parsons and the entire Portland Thorns organization. Thank you to the NWSL for hosting this amazing event. I'd also like to thank my family, my 4 brothers at home, and my mom and dad. I definitely wouldn't be here today without you guys. Thank you to the entire Penn State staff and all of my teammates who have pushed me and made me the person I am today. Thank you.
Emily Ogle was the Big Ten Midfielder of the Year. She scored 6 goals, had 5 assists. She was also the 2014 Big Ten Freshman of the Year. She was named team captain this past season. She's a solid center mid, ladies. She has great field awareness as well, and she's also shown she can be dynamic. Some coaches say she's great on the ball. She's someone who can do well in the middle. As somebody who can play midfield, can also play defensively as well, what role do you think she best serves for Portland?
I think more of a holding mid for Portland, especially with the type of players she has around her, which are crafty. They like to take players on, combine with one another. This is a good position for her, somebody that can sip in between the seams, play make from there, and then dish the balls off to the players that you want on the ball going forward.
Let's check in with her down on the draft floor with Jordan.
All right, I'm just talking to Emily Ogle here. Just got drafted, and she said something that intrigued me, you guys. 4 brothers at home. Are they where you get a little bit of your feistiness?
Yes, definitely. They have shaped me into the person and player that I am, and so I'm so grateful for everyone, the awesome family that I have.
And in my notes, I said, you get out of situations like a little ninja. You're very crafty on the ball, and you are good. Portland Thorns is a great place to be with that kind of ability.
Definitely. It's a great organization, and I'm super excited for the opportunity.
I think we need one more thing, because the Rose City Riveters have been watching and hoping that they get someone like you. You want to say hi to your new fans there in Portland?
Hello, I am super excited to see you guys all in Portland soon.
Yes, there you go. There you have it, you guys. Portland's got a draftee.
Thanks, Jordan. And something Mark Parsons said as we were talking to him heading into the draft was he's very much looking to invest in the future. Does Emily Ogle fit that bill as somebody you can invest in heading down the road?
100%, especially the way that he's building his team, looking to the future, knowing that he is invested in them, wants to create a competitive environment. It might take her a little bit to get on the field with the surplus of players and the excitement of players that they have, but I mean, I think this is a really good place for her to be. I think it fits the way that she can play, and it's one of the best positions for her in terms of being successful in this league.
And known as being more of a soccer player than an athlete, I could see her fitting in with, you know, a Christine Sinclair as like how they could work together in the midfield.
Yep.
And he also talked about mentality, being mentally strong as well. Somebody who's coming from a team where she was team captain. I'm sure that was also a highlight for him, because he said he wants to make sure these girls know what they're getting themselves into and not be jarred by the fact that they might not be the big-time player anymore. As a player, when you come from a program where you might be the go-to person, what is that like to adjust to, knowing that you might have to take a lesser role now?
Yeah, it can be very difficult, and that's really where it comes back to of what we've been saying, which is the mentality, right? And the patience, which I love the word that we used earlier, because that's what it takes. And sometimes you find little breaks where you're able to slip in earlier than you think, but it is the patience that you need in terms of buying your time.
Orlando has their pick in. Let's check it out.
With the 7th pick in the 3rd round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the Orlando Pride select Erin Greening from the University of Colorado Boulder. Chicago Red Stars, you're now on the clock.
Orlando taking Erin Greening in the 3rd round, forward midfielder defender coming out of University of Colorado Boulder. How does this make sense with the trend we've been seeing come from Orlando? Because this is interesting, their GM is selecting for them right now.
Well, we've heard that Mark Skinner from Birmingham City is going to be coming over to take their coaching position. He spent 2 years with that club. They're currently 4th in the FA Women's Super League. I think it's interesting. I would have gone with someone who's a pure defender, considering the defensive issues that they had last year. Only Houston and Sky Blue giving up more goals than Orlando last year. She's slated mostly as a midfielder for Colorado. Obviously on her profile she listed all 3, so maybe she's got some versatility to bring to it. But you know, we talked to Eric Eastruck, the new GM, you know, this week, and he was part of the club last year, but he was so tight-lipped. So I think we can't really know what they plan to do with a pick like that until the coach really comes in and we start seeing some external signings. And I would not be surprised if this ends up being their only pick, they don't trade, you know, for anything else, that they pull in a lot of local players, because we know there's tons of great college soccer players based in Florida.
For more on this pick, we're going to head things down to Jordan Angeli on the draft floor.
Thanks, Marissa. Being a Colorado native, I've called a lot of University of Colorado Buffaloes games, and I've watched Erin Greening go from a forward to an outside back. And when I talked to her coach, Danny Sanchez, from Colorado yesterday, he said, sleeper pick, Erin Greening is going to get drafted. And I looked at him and I said, you think so? And he was right. There she is on the board. This girl has a good engine, and she is able to get up and down the field. Her can tighten up her ability to cross the ball, but I like this pick. I think it'll add a lot to the squad.
Hey, Jordan, thank you so much for adding that in as well, because this is somebody who's relatively unknown, but it's nice to see these under-the-radar players get their opportunity who maybe they don't have that big of a name or don't come from that big of a program. But what's interesting about Orlando is on paper, their roster looks pretty nice. How do you start to translate that when teams start to find themselves not producing as well as their roster dictates they should be?
I mean, that was a big question mark last year, is with just the star power they had, and it just couldn't seem to get it together or create that right mix, especially in the defensive, with their defensive presence. But with this pick here, the one word that comes to mind is versatility. She showed that she can play defense, midfielder, forward, and I think at this point in time, that's what Orlando's looking for, is just to have somebody that they can utilize, especially if players are going to be gone that we've mentioned with the World Cup. You can plug and play in different positions that they can potentially utilize right away.
And I think we should point out that Danica Evans, who plays with Orlando, is also from Colorado.
We're going to check in with Chicago as their pick is in.
With the 8th pick in the 3rd round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the Chicago Red Stars select Kayla Sharples from Northwestern University. Utah Royals FC, you're now on the clock.
Kayla Sharples, forward from Duke, coming a Lincolnwood, Illinois native, so you can imagine how emotional this is to be in Chicago, her home state, be selected by Chicago. This is has to be so exciting for her, given all the ties she has to this area. But she led Duke with 12 goals, 61 shots, 36 attempts on goal, and 8 assists as well. A great pick by Chicago.
Well, this just speaks to the
Thank you so much to the NWSL for giving all of us an incredible opportunity and to achieve our dreams. Thank you so much to my Northwestern coaches, Michael, David, and Paul, for always encouraging me and caring for me on and off the field. And of course, thank you to my wonderful teammates who have given me a ride of a lifetime. I wouldn't be here without them. Thank you so much to my club team, Eclipse, and my club coaches, Mike and Rory, of course, for always believing in me and clearly giving me the best opportunity possible. Thank you so much, Chicago Red Stars. I'm so grateful, and I'm very, very excited for this opportunity. Thank you, and I'm so happy to be home.
You'll have to excuse me, I was reading some wrong stats about Kayla Sharples, but she is from Naperville, Illinois, which is about 50 minutes outside of Chicago. She said she's coming home. She led Northwestern to a program best 4 straight NCAA tournament appearances. She was a big role in that program, really making a name for itself. And she started every match over 4 years. She had an 86 straight start streak, which was the 2nd best in program history.
And now the first ever player drafted out of Northwestern to the NWSL at in your hometown. It's beautiful. First Chicago draft pick who was actually here to go to the podium. So that was beautiful seeing Section 134 react like that.
Such great crowd atmosphere, as well as we check down with Jordan and Kayla Sharples.
So I'm here with Kayla, and you've just gone from suburb to in the city to just a different part of the city, right? Does it feel good to be drafted by your hometown team?
It feels absolutely amazing. I'm so grateful for to Rory for believing in me and giving this opportunity. I have always looked up to him. He's given me a lot of great advice over the years, and he's coached me before, so it's great just to be back home and to be close to home and have my family support me and hopefully come to some games, so I'm very excited.
And as we're prepping this draft, I'm watching you, and I've never seen somebody slide tackle so many times and win the ball and connect out of that. You're a great center back, but what else do you think is your ability as a center back that's going to help the Chicago Red Stars team?
Yeah. Like you said, my physicality is huge. I am a very competitive person, so in general, I will do whatever it takes to win that individual battle and to help my team win, so I'll hopefully bring that to the Chicago Red Stars.
I love that. She's got that Chicago grit in her, you guys. She's going to stay right here in Chicago. Thanks, Kayla.
So awesome for Kayla Sharples staying in Chicago, her hometown team. We're going to throw to the podium right now.
With the 9th pick in the 3rd round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the Utah Royals FC select Madeline Nolf from Penn State University. This concludes the 3rd round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft.
Defender Maddie Nolf coming out of another Penn State Nittany Lion coming out of the NWSL draft. She's originally from Omaha, Nebraska. Now she's made huge improvements from freshman year to senior year, and she's also become a role model for the underclassmen on this team. And when you get to this point of the draft, especially as we conclude the 3rd round of the draft, that leadership is one of those intangibles that coaches really tend to look for as somebody who might have an edge on somebody. She's a solid right back. She can transition to center back as well. What do you make of Maddie Nolf going to Utah?
Well, I like this pick. I mean, one thing that Laura Harvey talked to us about was getting defenders, especially with the likes of Corsi and Sauerbrunn going to the World Cup, most likely or definitely for those two players. And so shoring up the back line and getting more depth in there. And she's able to slot into the holding midfielder position, play center back or a right back position. So this is a good pickup, especially late in this 3rd round or the final pick of this 3rd round.
Here's how the 3rd round played out. We had Kira Carusa coming off the board right at the top of the 3rd round, which we all discussed was really exciting to see her finally get selected because she was touted to go a little earlier. But then there was also Emily Ogle, who came out of Penn State as well. Another name that had been floated around top of the draft order heading into today. But lots of talent, some good steals looking ahead into this 3rd round draft, the 3rd round of the draft rather, as we take a look at some of the other talent that's come through the 3rd round of previous drafts.
Right side, sending one in, and there it is. Veronica Latsko.
Huerta from distance takes a deflection, and Sheridan keeps it out.
Prince. Onside. Crosses. The finish!
The great ball by Doherty Howard into Houston.
Trying to pick out Sam Kerr! Kick save by D'Angelo!
Jess McDonald. This ball just bending away from her. Now she gets it back. McDonald has it blocked by Mangus.
Casco puts it through. It's the ball they were looking for. The goal's open. Shot taken. Oh, deflected out. A tremendous job by Amber Brooks.
The 4th round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft will now begin. Sky Blue FC, you are now on the clock.
Welcome back to the 2019 NWSL Draft as we begin the fourth and final round of this draft. Marisa Pilla, Lori Lindsey, Jen Cooper, as we get all of our notes ready as we head into the final picks of this 2019 draft. Ladies, we just took a look at a video of some of the best talent to have come out of the third round. What makes somebody be able to get picked late in the draft but still make an impact and a name for themselves?
Yeah, I think it's the easiest way that we've been talking about is mentality, right? And it's that mentality to believe in yourself, because there's such little differences that separate players at this next level. Way different than the college game, and to continue to believe in yourself, continue to fight, continue to train, and show up every day are the little bits and pieces that separate players going forward. And so if these players that get picked up in the third round, these could be some of the hidden gems that we were talking about that could really make a name for themselves, keep showing up, fighting, carving out a little space for themselves on the field, and then going from there.
But I think hidden is the key word, where they might be hidden to us, but they're not hidden to these coaches, because it's not like these coaches are just looking at the best 15 or 20. They're putting together notebooks of 100 or so players, whittling it down to, okay, here's the 30 to 40 that I'd like, and then they have to kind of wait and see how the draft falls out. So they have a list where it's like, okay, here's my pick at number 29, and this is who's left. You know, and so they can be prepared, and that's why we see these trades sometimes in the late rounds, that they have an eye on a certain player and think that she'll probably be available, but if she's not, well, then you got to trade up for her.
Strategically, you have to move your pieces around to do what's best for your team. And if you're just joining us now, the announcement was made earlier today about roster expansion. So a minimum of 20 players, maximum of 22, with those 4 additional players that will get the league minimum, as well as not count towards a team salary cap. That is huge, especially in the fourth round, for these women to know that there's an opportunity for them with these teams that draft them.
And speaking of opportunity, this is a huge year for goalkeepers, because you know you're going to have those call-ups, you know the rosters are bigger, and we still haven't seen a goalkeeper called. So that tells me 2 things, really. There's no star goalkeeper in this draft mix like you had a Jane Campbell a couple of years ago. And also, these teams know that they can call up a goalkeeper, just invite him into camp. You had plenty of keepers declare. They're all eligible to be called into preseason, but teams are probably like, well, I guess I don't need to use a draft pick on a keeper.
And Sky Blue is on the clock. They have back-to-back picks to start off this fourth round. We talked about the back-to-back picks a little bit throughout the draft. It's interesting to see who they decide to go with and what needs they address first, and follow quickly up with that second pick. But we see Denise Reddy has picked a couple Jersey girls already. It could be the direction she's going in with the final round of the draft, to get those local girls who have the support system in place for a tough road ahead when you're trying to make an NWSL roster.
Yeah. It's just, it's so challenging, you know, even with those additional spots opening up.
And we see some phone action too happening on this Sky Blue table. The clock has expired, so we're seeing what could conspire from this right now. They have a lot of draft picks, so maybe they feel they don't exactly need as many as they have. What do you think could be happening right now with Sky Blue?
Well, you know, they might be looking to further complement the roster with some veteran players, maybe bringing in someone from overseas or making trades within the league, where it's still a very young roster. And that they were the youngest roster, and that still included Carly Lloyd's age. So if you throw out Carly Lloyd, it's a very young roster.
We're being told that the pick is in. Let's take a look back at the podium. Oh, we're going to check in right there. But as she said, that's a really good point, because Denise Reddy even said that we are a young team, but when you throw Carly Lloyd in the mix, she really elevates the average age, but she also brings with her so much experience too. It could be an option too, where they're looking for somebody who has a lot of experience from their college league, where they can provide some of that too, because they have picked a lot of
especially knowing that
players.
Carly's going to be gone for that middle section of the season.
And I think that's what's going to separate the Sky Blue team even from last year, is we're talking about youth, and they really need to find a player. It's maybe the middle of the bracket there between a Carly and these other players, because a lot of these players are unproven. And the teams that we've seen to be so successful in this league are a mix of seasoned players that maybe don't quite play on the women's national team, but are really strong, very quality pro players, and aren't gone all the time.
The pick is in. Let's take a look at the podium.
Here to announce picks 1 through 3 in round 4 is General Counsel of of the National Women's Soccer League, Lisa Levine.
Good afternoon. With the first pick in the 4th round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, Sky Blue FC select Kaylin Marquise from the University of Florida. Sky Blue FC, you are now on the clock.
So they go with Kaylin Marquise. You can see they're back on the clock right now, deciding who else they want to pick. And as you
Our
said,
first keeper.
Goalkeeper. So Jen's happy. Jen, why does this pick make sense right now?
Well, I got to talk to Jillian Logan about Kaylin Marquise last week, and where she really stands out is with her ability with her feet. Jill is actually doing a session at the convention this week. They analyzed all of her touches, and that she touches the ball with her feet 8 times as often as she does with her hands. So that tells you that she's bringing a whole new dynamic to the game, where she can really start your attack from the back. She can also serve up a pretty mean long ball.
And what I love about that is, too, talking to Denise Reddy and how she wanted to play last season and going forward as well, is to play out of the back. Quick touches, building. When it's time to open up, you can. But to have a player that wants to play out of the back, wants to use her feet, especially as a goalkeeper, that is just another evolution of this team and being able to build and play that they want to play.
And as a goalkeeper, too, it says to me that there was initiative taken to make those steps, to make sure that she could play with her feet almost as well as she can play with her hands. How does that speak to a potential head coach of knowing she took the time to be skilled in an area that a lot of goalkeepers don't pay as much attention to?
I think that's huge, especially when the 2 keepers that Sky Blue has right now, Kaylin Cherry and Caroline Casey, they're strong keepers. They're not necessarily going to be missing any time this year. We don't know yet if Kaylin will be one of the 3 keepers that goes with Canada to France 2019. So I think you're introducing an extra competitive element to the team of, hey, you want to be number 1, you want to be number 2, you got to fight for it.
And especially with goalkeepers, it's such a personalized position where it is just you in between the pipes guarding that net for your team. So to have that competition, Lori, can you speak to what that does in the sense of a goalkeeper group? I know you didn't play, but
oh yeah, well, I mean,
to watch.
When we've been talking about the word patience, that's no more true than in that goalkeeping position, because when you have even 2 players, even 3 now, with the additional 4 supplemental players, the 2 additional roster add-ons, this allows a 3rd goalkeeper. But it's fun because you see the camaraderie between the goalkeepers pushing each other to get better, but it's buying that time. It is that patience. If you have a number 1 in front of you or even a 2 in front of you, how can you slip in?
And Sky Blue is on the clock once again. As we mentioned, they've taken some forwards, some defenders in the 1st and 2nd rounds, just taking a goalkeeper. What needs do you think they still need to fill, Jen?
Well, certainly not goalkeeper. I'm going to say that, so
yeah.
Pick another goalkeeper. But generally, once we see 1 keeper taken, it means that more keepers start to go. And this is the first draft where the first keeper wasn't even taken until the 4th round. So if I'm Denise Reddy, I'm looking for who's the best player left, likely with a local angle. But what do you think, Lori?
I agree with that as well. I mean, at this point in time, too, you are looking for local players to make the transition easier. You know, it's tough to say, but when you're starting to get into the 4th round and you already have a tight-knit team, a good core, and you're still adding on, it can be really challenging to get on the field.
Certainly, the pick is in. Let's check out how Denise Reddy played this pick with 29th overall.
With the 2nd pick in the 4th round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, Sky Blue FC select Kenny Wright from Rutgers University. Orlando Pride, you are now on the clock.
Another New Jersey native, Kenny Wright, coming out of Rutgers. She's a Mount Laurel, New Jersey native. She started all 19 matches in her senior year. She registered an assist on the game winner in back-to-back conference matches, so she comes in clutch situations here, and she recorded an assist in the first 4 games of the season. She's also team captain. As we said, that also plays a huge role in terms of mentality, responsibility, leadership roles. She's really good on set pieces, too. So when you have somebody who has that angle, too, how much of an asset does that mean for that player in an offensive opportunity that the coach can see in them, Lori?
Well, I mean, if you look across the board, set pieces are huge in this league, and teams can capitalize on those. We've seen Portland capitalize on those this past season and scored some big game winners. Lindsey won. I mean, she couldn't stop scoring on set pieces. And I mean, I think we're all geniuses sitting up here with these local picks that we're calling out. But I think this solidifies them in the midfield and the defense. She can play either of those spots. And again, they have the component of being able to be dangerous on set pieces. Just allows them to have a different look when it comes to scoring goals.
She checks a lot of boxes for Denise Reddy because she is local. There's that teammate mentality with her. She has a relentless work ethic. That's something that really separates people in that 4th round.
And consider too that she's from Rutgers.
Right.
She'll be staying at her home field of Ursac Field. Sky Blue already has a lot of players from Rutgers, not even counting Carly Lloyd.
Right.
But like Maddie Tiernan, Erica Skrosky, I'm pretty sure. Well, I'm not messing that up. So they've already drafted from Rutgers before. I'm sure Denise has been able to watch Penny play a lot this season, and I loved hearing from Denise how she scouts players. That she shows up 90 minutes before the game to just sit there in the stands and watch how they arrive, how they interact with friends, how they interact with teammates, how they talk to the coach, how they warm up. So she's probably done a lot of scouting on this player.
She's looking for that whole package, especially in these later rounds where they have to rely on more than just their technical skill because those players have already gone at this point. And we know right now Orlando Pride is on the clock. We saw them take their first pick back at the 25th pick overall. They took Erin Greening. What can we expect from them as they head into the 4th round, their second pick with their new GM?
That's the big question, really.
Up in the air, really.
And I think we need to blame Jordan Angeli here.
Maybe.
She claims to know Eric Ustruck, the new GM, really, really well. She didn't get any information out of him, so, we can't really tell you anything about the Orlando pick because of Jordan.
What kind of mentality or identity do you hope to see this Orlando team take on, given that we've talked about they have a talented roster? What do you want to see out of them?
Defensive mastery.
Yes.
Let's check it out. Their pick is in. Let's head back to the podium.
With the 3rd pick in the 4th round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the Orlando Pride select Marisa Vigiano from Northwestern University. Chicago Red Stars, you are now on the clock.
What a great name, too, Marisa Vigiano. Midfielder coming out of Northwestern, a Macomb, Michigan native. She finished with 20 career assists. That's tied for the 2nd most in program history, and she led them this year with 5 assists, 40 shots on goal. Great to have her here in the arena, in the ballroom, to make her way to the stage as she joins Orlando Pride as a great addition, too, a midfielder that had a lot of upside.
Yeah, and, we've talked
Hello. First and foremost, I would like to thank the Orlando Pride for drafting me to such an incredible team in an incredible league among some of the best players in the world. It truly is an honor, so thank you. To my parents who were able to be here with me today, and my sister who's watching back at home, could never find enough words to express how grateful I am for you guys. I love you. My coaches at Northwestern, Michael, David, Paul, my teammates, the greater Northwestern staff, thank you for allowing me to attend one of the greatest universities in the world. I'm so incredibly lucky for my past 4 years. And lastly, Aaron Bird, Next Level training staff, Doug Landenfeld and the Michigan Hawks. Thank you for developing me into the best player that I am today. So thank you.
Marisa Vigiano getting selected 30th overall by Orlando Pride, a midfielder coming out of Northwestern University. From research, she's a real student of the game. She studies every and anybody, especially the U.S. Women's National Team. How will that help her make an impact with Orlando Pride, knowing that she's constantly watching the best, trying to be the best?
Well, there's one aspect that a lot of people talk about, coaches talk about, is players don't study the players that are where they want to be, or study the game. And if this is a player that is watching games, making herself better, that's half the battle, because you're starting to understand how fast the game is. And so we talked a lot about the back line, but the midfield is an area that was up and down last year, and I think she could help shore things up in there and create a little bit more balance.
certainly a great pick coming out of Northwestern, a second Northwestern player being selected into this draft. She's down on the floor with Jordan Angeli.
We're taking a deep breath here, Marisa Vigiano. You're so excited. You're going to Orlando Pride, and when you look at this roster at the Pride, you get to play with World Player of the Year multiple times, Marta. You get to play with Alex Morgan. Can you believe this is reality?
I can't. I mean, these are players that I've looked up to my whole entire life, and to even get drafted on a roster that these players are a part of, it's incredible. It's such an honor.
And it's a jump from college to playing in the pros. But I was just talking to Lloyd, one of your coaches now at the Pride, and he was telling me your versatility in the midfield is something that intrigues them. What else about your play are you excited to bring to NWSL?
I am excited to bring more of my technical side. I like to have the ball at my feet and creating opportunities for myself or my teammates. So that's something that I'm looking forward to.
Good. Well, the Pride staff is excited. They're all standing right here. Their second draft pick, their first one that was here. So enjoy the rest of your day.
So much.
You're welcome. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Jordan. And seeing now, we didn't know exactly what Orlando was looking to do heading into the draft, but now that we see their draft picks, what are you? We'll talk about that next, but here's the next draft pick.
1 through 3. Round 4 is Director of Operations and Player Affairs of the National Women's Soccer League, Liz Dalton.
All right, with the 4th pick in the 4th round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the Chicago Red Stars select April Bakken from the University of Minnesota. Utah Royals FC, you are now on the clock.
Washington hasn't had a pick since the 2nd round, so they go with April Bakken here, a forward from University of Minnesota. She is the Big Ten Forward of the Year. She started in all 23 games this season, 13 goals, 7 assists, and she has netted all 3 of Minnesota's goals in the Big Ten tournament. They won that tournament. She was the most outstanding player during that time as well, and her head coach described her as a 3-dimensional player. She's somebody that can be the spear of a pressing defense, use her vision to set up plays for others, and also works to be dangerous around the goal. In the 4th round, how important is it to find someone that has been described as 3-dimensional on the field?
Oh, well, that's a massive pickup, especially somebody that likes to take on 1v1, has the pace to separate herself in this league. So, I mean, if you're getting players like this in the 4th round, you've got to be happy with how the draft is going.
And this is a player I'm sure that, they were paying attention to, locally. She's great in space, great with the ball at her feet, attacking, attacking from the wing. That fits.
We know the Utah Royals are on the clock right now. They just picked up Maddie Nolf from Penn State University to finish off the 3rd round. Was that pick surprising in terms of what you know, Laura Harvey?
I just know she's always going to do her research, and as we've said, that she doesn't use the draft a lot to build her roster. So if she's picked somebody, if she hasn't traded that pick away, that player is really special. And I'm really surprised that Laura hasn't brought us any beers. Because, we've been here 3.5 hours. There was talk of Laura bringing us beers.
We're not surprised. We're mad.
Yeah, we're mad
at this point.
Mad at this point, yeah, of course. Where do you see Utah shaping up in terms of 2019, not just with the draft, but as a whole? She said they haven't even scratched the surface on what this team can accomplish. What is their ceiling when you look at their roster?
Well, we haven't talked about their pick with Vero, who just came in from the Spanish national team, and we'll talk about Vero in a second.
Talk about that later. Let's head it back over to the podium.
Moving right along, with the 5th pick in the 4th round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the Utah Royals FC select Alexandra Kimball from the University of North Carolina. Chicago Red Stars, you are now on the clock.
Alex Kimball coming out of UNC, another UNC player getting selected here in the 2019 NWSL College Draft. She lists herself forward, midfielder, defender. We've talked about versatility all day long and how important that is, especially in these late rounds, because if you can't make it as a forward, perhaps you can show your worth as a midfielder, perhaps you can show your worth as a defender, and to have those skills to portray to a head coach only speaks volumes to your talent level and your coachability. You're willing to play wherever you want. As a former player, how much did coachability factor into how many minutes you got, the looks you got from your coaching staff?
Oh, I mean, that's what coaches are looking for, especially in this fourth round. And this isn't a surprise. This is somebody that Laura Harvey mentioned to us. She was a player that was a practice player for Utah last year, very familiar with her, knew that she was a local player, so to pick her up and have her still available at this pick is huge for Utah.
And Jordan Angeli has more on the draft floor. Jordan?
Going back to Chicago's last pick as they're on the board, and it looks like the pick might be coming up pretty closely. April Bakken, Rory looked at me and said, I can't believe she's still on the board. Big Ten Player of the Year, scores goals, but what he's really excited about her is that she can unlock defenses on the wide, in the width, and they don't really have someone like that, you guys. This is a player that can score goals, and he said she's sophisticated in her running. So Rory Dames really high and really excited about April Bakken.
Thanks so much, Jordan. And talking about, Chicago, they've had a lot of picks today. They've done some trades as well. Was this to be expected, or do we expect the unexpected with Rory Dames?
No. We know that Rory knows what he's doing. He's always working it. We've seen him trade away picks. We've seen him hold on to picks. We've seen him sit back and just enjoy the fact that he has the #1 picks.
The pick is
so let's see what he did.
With the 6th pick in the 4th round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the Chicago Red Stars select Hannah Davison from Northwestern University.
Going to Chicago as well. They like those Northwestern girls there. She had a great collegiate career alongside Kayla Sharples. She created an extremely cohesive, strong back line for Northwestern. It's somebody she worked really well with, knowing now that she's going to be playing alongside of her again. It's a great little duo to continue to build. She's from Geneva, Illinois as well, so she's staying close to home as well. It's a great opportunity for her. And you hear we got Hannah chants coming from the crowd. It's a great atmosphere for Chicago to have these picks, to get these local talents to stay in the area and really develop further under a great head coach in Rory Dames.
I'd first like to thank the Chicago Red Stars and Rory for giving me this opportunity to continue my soccer career. I'd like to thank Northwestern and my coaches, Michael, David, Paul, and everyone else who has helped me at Northwestern get to this point. I'd like to thank my club, Eclipse, and Mike Nessie and Rory Dames. I'm very excited to continue playing with my teammate now for 8 or 9 years, and here's to a few more. I'm excited to be home. Thank you.
Hannah Davidson rejoining teammate Kayla Sharples with Chicago Red Stars. Such an exciting time for them. How will they pair well, once again, under now the direction of Rory Dames?
I mean, anytime you have players that have been playing well together, they know each other, there's a dynamic duo there, they've been coached by Rory. I mean, that's a positive, right? Coming into this pro level, they know what to expect, they can transition easier. And I mean, if you're looking at Chicago, what a wonderful draft, in my opinion, for this team, because we knew that we've talked about their core that they've had, and then to add these players that are local with some really good abilities and to benefit at the next level. I mean, you got to think that Chicago is looking great for this 2019 season.
Well, and picking players from Northwestern, they already have a fan base. You're picking locals, they have a fan base. I just think that continues to build your brand. Chicago, my kind of town.
Well, also, she's known as a lockdown central defender. It'll be interesting to see how she fits in with Rory. We're going to hear more from Hannah Davison now because she's down on the floor with Jordan Angeli.
Thank you guys. I like hearing all the talk you have about Hannah, but I'm going to get it from her mouth. You can't get away from Kayla. You two have been teammates now for 9 years. I want to know, how do you guys differentiate yourselves from each other, or how do you work so well together?
I think from the start we've always worked very well together, and we've been best friends not on the field but also off the field, which definitely helps. So these past 9 years we've grown such a remarkable chemistry together, and we just know each other's strengths and weaknesses and complement each other very well. So hopefully we can bring that and keep some shutouts for the Red Stars.
You guys did that very well at Northwestern, shutouts. You were a good dual team back there. But now you come into a squad with a lot of leadership, a lot of qualities that you can learn from, but maybe use that during this summer, this whole season, right? Are you excited to join this Red Stars squad?
Yes, I'm so excited. I'm glad to be home, and hopefully my family can come see me, and it's great. I'm so excited.
Yeah, she got big cheer, you guys, and she hasn't stopped smiling yet, so this is pretty cool. We're going to actually go to the next pick. We're going to head up to the podium right now.
Here to announce picks 7 through 9 in the round 4 is Club Development Director of the U.S. Soccer Federation, Miriam Hickey.
With the 7th pick in the 4th round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, Sky Blue FC selects Sabrina Flores from the Notre Dame University. Chicago Red Stars, you are now on the clock.
Sabrina Flores, a midfield defender coming out of Notre Dame, but once again, a New Jersey native out of Livingston, New Jersey. This was somebody that Laura Harvey talked about, as well as Denise Reddy, and Denise Reddy really pegged her as good local talent. She was called up to the Mexican national team. She led Notre Dame in minutes with 1,522 minutes. She changed her position to midfield to defender. So Lori, what do you make of this pick?
Well, not to only does she have full Mexican national team experience, she also has U.S. youth national team. So to get somebody like this in the 4th round that has that experience, can relay that to the next level here in the NWSL, and then is a good distributor. Again, it just plays into Sky Blue and what they're trying to do to solidify this team, continue to make it competitive, and really have people fight out for these different positions.
What trends are you seeing from Sky Blue's picks? Because this was their final pick of 2019. They had a lot. They're finally done. But what trends do you see that each of their picks possess?
Definitely see the local angle, and I think when you've had some of the struggles that this club has had, I think that's a smart way to go, because you know you've got a better chance of them wanting to stay. They've got a support system, they've got family, they've got friends. Hey, for the Rutgers alum, it's your home field. I think it's a smart way to go.
And I also think it's a great way for Denise to get buy-in, start building her team through the youth, establish herself as a coach here in this league even more so than his first year. But again, get a solid group together that buys into the way that she wants to play.
What lessons do you think she's learned from her first year that she would bring into the 2nd year? I know you can't get inside of her head, but what lessons have you learned from watching Sky Blue, and what do you hope to see them as a whole?
I think that veteran leadership can't be undervalued, and you know, no knock on any of the U.S. national team players, but since you know that they're going to be gone for portions of the season, you have to make sure you have that leadership coming from somewhere else.
Right. Seasoned players having a little bit of experience while maybe not getting called up to the national team is going to be vital for this team, so they get some more trades in, whether it's after this draft, to like balance that out.
The pick is on. Let's check it out at the podium.
With the 8th pick in the 4th round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the Chicago Red Stars select Jenna Szczesny. From Loyola University, Chicago.
Very rarely do you get that amount of cheers for a 4th round pick, but this crowd is very excited for Jenna Szczesny coming out of Loyola University, Chicago. Jen, what does this mean for this program and for her?
So great for the program.
on the clock.
You know, and hey, it wouldn't be a Chicago draft pick unless one of them had a good Slavic last name. You know, so I'm glad they're sticking local, just like we were saying with Sky Blue. When you get down this part of the draft, especially if you've been able to scout these players locally or you knew them from their youth programs, you're risking less.
First, I'd like to thank the NWSL and the Chicago Red Stars for this amazing opportunity to continue my soccer career. I'd also like to thank Loyola, Barry, Frankie, Katie, Chris, and everyone who supported me there. From my hometown, FCX, and all the coaching staff, all the trainers who have helped me, and all of my teammates and friends and family who have supported me throughout my soccer career. Thank you.
Jenna is the first player from Loyola University of Chicago to get selected in the NWSL draft. And what's interesting about her is she was conference freshman of the year, so she had a really good start to her collegiate career, and she was able to carry that all the way through. How do you see the Chicago team adapting to her and using her strengths?
Well, they need another player that can help with the goal-scoring mentality, and if she had such a great freshman year and that she carried that on, there's some consistency there. And that's what you're going to look for going forward.
Let's hear from Jenna herself, who's down on the floor with Jordan.
Yes, I'm here with Jenna, and I just heard you guys were telling us first ever Loyola of Chicago draft pick. How exciting is that to be the first ever?
That's so exciting. It's just a big thanks to them and everyone who supported me. It's amazing. It's crazy.
And now you get to don the Chicago Red Stars. Just go down the street a little bit. Is it nice to be able to stay here in a place that you know so well?
Yes, I definitely wanted to stay in Chicago, and it couldn't have been more perfect and an amazing opportunity. I'm so excited.
And Jenna's going to soak in this moment. She is you're overwhelmed, and I love that. It is good. It is good. Congratulations. We're so excited for you.
Thank you. Thank you, yeah.
Marisa.
Thanks, Jordan. So exciting to hear from her, being the first from her program. It means a lot, I'm sure, for her and for her school. I'm sure there's a lot of happy fans there at home as well. But we're heading into the final pick. We made it to the end, ladies. Lori even left us for a second to go on the stage. So we can see North Carolina Courage is on the clock. Lori, is there someone you thought would have been picked by now? This is it. This is the last pick. Who do you think it should be?
Yeah, there is one pick. Is Casey Tillman from Florida State that a lot of coaches spoke to us about, that were high on her, thought she could bring something different, could cut inside from a winger position, just play make, versatile player. And I'm surprised we haven't seen her pick, because there's some coaches that seemed pretty high on her.
And she was the only player from the NCAA champion team from last month that's in this draft, because two other seniors, Natalie Kuika and Megan Connolly, they're both internationals. Makes sense they don't declare, but this could be her.
With the 9th pick in the 4th round of the 2019 NWSL College Draft, the North Carolina Courage select Casey Tillman from Florida State University.
I was going to say, you can't have a draft without a Florida State pick, right?
And this concludes the 2019 NWSL College Draft. Thank you to you all for your attendance. Congratulations to the players selected today and those that will undoubtedly be a part of soccer in the future. Thank you all.
Wrapped up the 2019 NWSL Draft. I think you guys are a little psychic, maybe. Laura, I'll give Lori credit for that one, because she called that one spot on. Casey Tillman, as you said, a national champion with Florida State this year. And there was an interesting quote I saw from her that she said earlier this season. She said, "It's not that you have to do this, it's that you get to do this. You should take every available opportunity that comes to you, take every moment." And that just speaks so perfectly to the situation she finds herself in as the final pick of the draft. This is an opportunity for her. It's not a negative thing to be picked last because she has the chance to prove herself to a team that obviously touted her as a good pick and already has so much talent that she can grow from. Why are you excited to see her head there?
Well, I love that she says that, and that shows her maturity at this level already because it's insightful. I mean, if we look at the players, just because you're picked 4th round or you're picked 1st round doesn't mean that you're going to make it. There's some 4th round picks that have been fabulous in this league. But at the same time, you got to be happy if you're North Carolina and getting her in that last pick.
Here's a look at the first round as it broke down picks 1 through 9. We kind of knew number 1 overall was going to go to Davidson, but there was also a question of the order of where everybody else would go. Was there somebody in that first round that surprised you? Not that they went in the first round, but where they went to?
Sam Staub getting as high as 4. I figured she'd be a 1st rounder. I didn't think she'd go that high. And Haley Harbison, we thought would be a 2nd rounder, snuck in at number 10.
Let's take a look at that
9.
2nd round too as we move on to the next set of picks 10 through 18. We said there was some players here that we definitely thought could have slipped into the 3rd round, could have moved up to the 2nd. Who won the 2nd round in your opinion?
I mean, when we talked about this earlier, Jen's right. Houston picked some good picks for not having any 1st round picks. And then I also, New Jersey has some good picks here as well. I mean, all the teams in this draft, I've been pleasantly surprised, really got what they needed. And it kind of fell, some teams were more aggressive. But, I mean, Houston and Jersey, I feel like in this 2nd round, it will pay off for them.
And to see Butler and Baylor get their 1st ever picks is huge, especially that high.
Yeah, especially. And then moving into the 3rd round, we saw some players get selected in the 3rd round that we would consider some steals. Kira Caruso out of Georgetown, Emily Ogle out of Penn State University. Who got the biggest steal in the 3rd round?
I think this Kyra Caruso is going to be big time. I think you give her a little bit of time. If she fits in with the Jersey style, I think she can. The mentality-wise, she has Stanford under her belt, the understanding of that program, the understanding of the Georgetown program, successful at both, led both of them to the NCAA tournament in the Final Four. And I mean, I think if she, with her mentality and her willingness to get better, she could really turn into something special in this league.
We just wrapped up the 4th and final round of the draft. If you're just joining us, this is how it played out. For New Jersey, once again, had back-to-back picks to start the round. They also had to pick late in the round, and North Carolina making the final pick of Casey Tillman that my 2 lovely co-hosts called spot on. In the 4th round, what will set these players apart in terms of trying to make their respective rosters?
I love the local angle in this round because they already have a natural attachment to the team. They've got the built-in family and, you know, the friends following them. I think a lot of them they could see playing time and really produce something for these clubs.
And especially heading into this 2019 season, there are roster expansions. There's up to 22 players on the roster, 4 additional players as well. It gives a lot of opportunity in addition to the World Cup summer that we saw. So speaking strictly from who they drafted, which team are you most excited to see take shape?
You know, I think North Carolina for winning the championship and having some good picks. I'm excited to see how those players fit in and how Paul and his staff can mold those players. I am really curious about Washington. I think they picked up some good players. It will be how can these players translate from the college game to the pro game as quickly as possible. We saw that was a little bit of a struggle last year in terms of the mix. I thought bigger players are going to step up more. So can they do that this year with the mix of some seasoned players? So I'm interested in the Washington Spirit and what that's going to look like.
And I can't wait to see what happens with Utah with these picks and also the signing of Vero, you know, Spanish international who might not be part of Spain's World Cup. So I think that's going to bring a whole new dynamic to Utah.
It certainly changes everything, changed how they approach the draft as well. We're going to wrap things up here from the Skyline Ballroom in Chicago, Illinois. Thank you so much for joining all of us. For Jen Cooper, Jordan Angeli, Lori Lindsey, I'm Marisa Pilla. For everybody in the truck that made that broadcast so spectacular that we could bring to you, thank you. Thanks so much for joining us. Here's to a great 2019 NWSL season.